really just struck with the middle school crowd who really likes to
They're
watch.
the worst.
I know, but they're the
I know.
most loyal viewers.
They are the most loyal Twitch fans.
Yeah, what else do they have going on in their lives?
That's exactly right. That's why
Math
we need
homework.
to get those middle schoolers.
Okay, what are Lizzie? What are
No,
middle
we're-
schoolers into? What can we do right now to
Should we
get
do a
there?
skibbity riz? Should we do some sort of
Previously on Skibbity Riz.
probably
Like a fake intro.
Just
We
use
can-
the thing where we were talking about fucking Scooby Doo as the intro.
We were talking
What?
about fucking Scooby Doo.
When were you talking about?
Oh,
Yeah,
the
the-
Harkness test.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
The Harkness test.
more like the Harkness.
And it has I've seen this comic a million times.
You know what I'm talking about.
Does it have human intelligence or greater? Can it talk or otherwise communicate
got
with
this.
language? Is it of sexual maturity for its species?
Hup
And it has this little image that goes.
Oh,
with
yeah.
it.
So you want to fuck a fictional creature?
So you want to fuck a dragon.
Which on the internet.
How to fuck your dragon. That's it.
Oh.
That's it.
That's what it should have been.
How?
Okay, wait a second. This is
I
gonna
like
be- this is
people
probably gonna
also ask, does Scooby Doo pass the Harkness?
How and if it's okay to
This,
fuck your dragon.
this is not going to be in the episode, but it might be a short.
Yeah.
Jump in, man.
Cannonball.
Nothing has changed. We are mere moments from the last time we were talking.
That can't be true.
No, it is though.
It's the magic of the theater.
CJ, that can't.
Suspend your disbelief.
I'm gonna keep saying previously.
Act 3 included a costume change.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
All
Do
right.
Do gelflings dream fast when they are doing sex? And if so, is it impossible to have a cheating relationship?
Do you
as
think
a
they
gelfling?
dream fast about the sex that they're having so that they can experience it from the other person's point of view?
Whoa.
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 Yeah.
That's cool.
Can you
Wow.
can you block certain things when you dream
Right,
fast?
that's
can
what
you
you-
like store certain things where
I
you're
feel
like,
like
I don't
this
want them to know.
I feel
This
like
isn't a lockbox.
Is there, I mean, you're the expert. Is there instances of the gelfling like doing deceit? Like, I don't even think they know how to like lie,
I'm pretty
really.
sure I brought this up before, but this is a episode of Black Mirror.
Yeah.
This is the plot of one.
Yeah, you did.
But-
You brought this up.
Nothing's
When the gelflings
original.
are dream fasting.
So you don't. You can touch without dream fasting.
Yeah.
It is
Okay.
an act. It's not like just
Sure.
because they touch. So-
Well, I will say I've seen the movie now.
Yeah.
Between the moments that were
Of course.
before the
He downloaded
our
it to his
previous
brain.
statement.
I-
of the
we
statement.
took a
dream-
bathroom break.
We
Yeah.
dream fasted, and
Yeah.
I showed it to him through.
And
dream
in the
It's very
movie,
convenient.
they just like grab hands for the first time.
Right. That's true. They just
And
kind of.
Well, they were
just
like-
like grace.
It's like a
they just like
kinetic
graze their
spark,
hands,
yeah.
and they're all of a sudden like, "Whoa, I've seen your whole life."
Right. Right.
I kind of feel like they were like touch starved though, because they're the only two gelflings.
That's
I mean,
true.
You're
not
right.
to spoil
They
things.
weren't
So that's
prepared
like
to do that.
that's the gelfling version of just like blowing your whole load in your pants the instant you touch boob.
Yeah,
Right.
Wow.
exactly.
Wow.
or whatever happens when that happens to people.
Wow. Yeah. I'm so tired all of a sudden. I'm so fucking tired.
We haven't even started yet, really.
All right,
No, we
so-
have. We've been going for hours.
All right, no,
You're right.
The sanctuary tree is dying, right? So there's dark. There's
Mhm.
darkness. The darkened Nurlocks are attacking the sanctuary tree.
Yeah.
As Deet was Deet and Rian and Deet's little brother Bobbin
Mhm.
were attempting to get the Aratham to turn against the Skeksis again.
Yep.
This is actually, so I talked about this earlier. The General Returns tells everyone that the Aratham are now with the Gelflings, so
Mhm.
they are all aware of that now and they're pissed. Chamberlain says he has a plan, and that
He always does.
we need to he basically says, hey, we can't get loyalty from any of these fucking creatures.
Yeah.
So we're just gonna build an army. Which really they should have done, I don't know.
From what creature?
500 years
Yeah,
ago.
how are they
Build an
gonna do it?
army.
Well, he drags in the body of a dead Aratham and he throws it at the scientist and he says, make a giant Aratham.
Make this into something.
Take this.
That's
and
such
make it
tech bro
something.
energy.
I-
Hey, scientists, you figure out how to make my things that I've said are gonna happen.
I
come
will
true.
say, I think it's a very like symbiotic relationship because the Skektek never makes something just because he feels like making something. He is only
He
ever
needs-
told to do a thing,
That's
and then he's
true.
like, "All right, I'll figure it out."
But he
Needs
like
the pressure.
He like thrives on the pressure of the job.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is just like, he's like one of those Silicon Valley bros who like can't come up with an idea to save his life, but like they'll throw together your app for you.
Right.
They'll do it.
So
They'll
this
make it happen.
this is actually when they string up the hunter like Weekend at Bernie's.
Okay, yeah.
So now that they've declared him officially dead, they
That's-
string him up like Weekend at
Wow.
Bernie's and put him at the table.
Wow.
Okay,
that's-
so
he really has become a memento morta, or
Memento Mori.
Yeah,
that
exactly.
thing is that thing.
Yeah, he's
What
that
she
thing.
said.
Yeah, he's that now. He's Latin.
So Deet and Rian return to Stone in the Wood. Rian climbs up the Crucible, which is what they call the forge in the center of town.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he searches for the other half of the glaive, and he does find it. He combines it with the first half, and the fire in the forge turns dark blue, or bright blue rather, turns bright blue.
Oh.
And the campfire's lit by the Madra and Groton, and also Brea and Celadon. They've lit campfires, all turn blue. So basically, it's like this
Whoa.
giant message.
Now all of China knows you're here.
Correct.
Wow.
Yes.
Man, that's like that's cool fantasy shit.
I was gonna say, does he hold it up like above his head?
Yeah, probably. Yes, I don't remember, but probably. Yeah.
That's such a like good like it's one of those things where you're like a skepsis, you like totally forget about something, and then all of a sudden all the fire everywhere turns blue, and you're like, wait a fucking second,
Yeah.
that's not good.
Wait. I feel like this has happened before.
This is
They're so like lazy
I know,
and
yeah.
stupid that like
they
this
just forget
this will
everything.
happen, and they're like, I feel like this is the third time we've tried genocide, guys. And like it just this keeps the blue flame again.
It does always. That's the theme I remember. It always comes up. It's just like we should just kill all these guys.
Yep.
And then they always like talk themselves out of it. Or they're
Chamberlain
like, it's
does.
just, like,
Chamberlain's
too
like,
much-
no, we
It's
can
just
use
like too
them.
much work, and they're like, yeah, I guess you're right. Let's
So
go back to what
That's
we
the
were
thing,
doing.
though, is that now that Chamberlain has basically given his go ahead, like
Mhm.
on, okay, we're just gonna make an army.
Yeah.
They are pushing forward right now with total Gelfling genocide. Like that is the goal.
That's
Because
the
Like,
plan.
Chamberlain's actually in charge of everything.
So, and he's in the shadows. He's the puppet master,
Mhm.
Oh, I thought that was Jim Henson.
secondary.
That's
Thank-
a lot.
Well, he was dead when they made this. CJ, have some tact.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah,
I-
have some
Has
tact.
CJ?
But later he'll come back in the.
But
He
is he
will.
not?
In
is
the
he not the
sequel.
big
Kind
puppet
of.
master in the sky now?
He's
Wow.
with the big puppet master in the
Wow.
sky. All right.
Ah.
So the everything turns blue. The Skeksis can see this happening from the castle. And the Gelflings can now use the blue flame to talk to each other somehow. It becomes like a message of Thra.
Cool.
And Rian uses this to basically call out a message of
Oh,
revolution.
Send
Yes.
He's like,
Yes.
they've literally lit the torches,
Oh
and
my
so he's calling out a message of revolution.
Viva la revolution.
I am
Oh.
Rian. I have the dual glaive. The Skeksis have been farming us and culling us and using us, and we're no longer going to take it. And you have to remember, before this, the entirety of Stone and Wood was taken over by the Aratham. So I don't know where. Oh, they were all in the castle. So yeah, they were part of the. Yeah, okay. So Agra sacrificed herself for them.
There's got to be some Gelfling though that are like, what are you talking about? You have the
Right, who have just
dual
been, like, totally
glaive,
clocked
like-
out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like,
like,
what-
Dual glaive.
what is
We're
happening?
being oppressed.
Yeah.
Like, what are you?
I'm just trying to till my land.
Yeah, I'm like,
dude, what are you talking
we
about?
kind of live in like medieval like feudalism.
I
I'm like,
assumed
I
the purple stuff was good.
didn't even think the Skeksis were real. I thought they were like a concept.
Yeah, they're more like I read about them in a book.
Right.
Actually, wait, I can't read.
Yeah, exactly.
So-
Somebody who can read told me about them from a book.
This is what they thought Twitter was going to do, and then that's why the elites destroyed it. Did you know that? Where it was gonna like.
Because
Oh,
it unites the
become a-
people.
Yeah, that's what like remember that happened
Oh,
with
yeah,
like
yeah.
Egypt.
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
Facebook,
The Arab
where they-
summer or whatever.
Yeah, where they like used it to like
Mhm.
you know coordinate and stuff, and then they destroyed all the social media platforms, so they became unusable.
Yeah, yeah.
Makes you think.
Very nice.
Whoa.
But they did it in a way where they could still keep making a lot of money.
The social media platform of today, of our current conversation, is a blue flame.
Yeah.
And this
Mhm.
is where this leads
And
us.
Or
Zuck
it
will
used
never
to
get his
be.
hands on that.
The crystal calls out. The crystal starts humming and shit.
Oh,
And the hunter's hand, he's all weekend
Mm-hmm.
at Bernie's. His hand twitches.
whoa.
He's moving a little bit. Rian's message appears on the crystal as well. So he's talking through the fire. It also appears on the crystal.
Okay.
And he's again, like I said, the Skeksis are fucking bad.
Yeah.
We all know this. That's what he's telling people.
Right. He's basically doing the last 2 episodes or whatever to everybody else.
just
Yeah.
catching everyone up.
And
The
really-
Skeksis recognize the dual glyph, so
Yeah.
they recognize it,
They're like,
and they
"Uh-oh."
are scared shitless.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can't believe they know anything. They
Yeah.
they seem
Well, it's like
really
CJ
like
was. It's
they
like CJ was
forgot.
saying. They
had
forget.
to have made it, right? Like
The heretic made it. I
right.
think.
So like yeah, they know it exists.
the heretic's not a part of them. Right?
he was kicked out for this reason.
Yeah, they're like, "Are you making weapons that can kill us?" And he was like, "Yeah."
Yeah.
And then they were
I
like,
think we're
"Well,
bad."
"Get out."
Get out of here. I love the heretic though.
Well, yeah, because he's
Funny.
represents. Well,
He's
he is
goofy.
Yeah, he is really goofy for like a resistance man.
So the Emperor interrupts the broadcast, and you have to remember that the Emperor also is wielding the darkness. Essentially, that's why his face started to like melt off.
Right.
He's wielding the darkness. He slams his scepter down, and his scepter contains a piece of crystal.
Yep.
And that lets him take over the broadcast. And he says, "Any Gelfling that stands with you in battle will join you in the grave."
Wow.
And that's where we kind of cut to black on that situation.
This is
So-
this is
So
what's
now the Gelfling know that the Skeksis are real and evil.
and evil, right? But
and they're out to kill.
but
Yeah.
the
Yeah, they just
problem
gave
is
up they gave up the ghost a long time ago.
yeah, the problem
But
is
now everyone
they
knows.
they didn't teach the Gelflings math, so they're like, well, there's like 10 million Gelflings, and there's like 20 Skeksis.
There's like
Not even.
But
Which
they're-
one is
15.
bigger?
But they're like, God, I guess it's pretty even.
All right, so they're preparing for battle at Stone and Wood,
Mhm.
and Deet is making bombs. These come up later. They're making.
She's
Sweet.
so cool.
She makes smoke bombs. At the castle, the Emperor's preparing for war by pulling more darkness into his scepter, and says that ever since he began experimenting on the darkness, he's had horrific nightmares of the torment of their lives before they were split in two.
Oh,
The Emperor fills his whole fucking body with darkness in preparation for the battle,
cool.
and the Skeksis are all decked out in new armor. But the Emperor does say the scientist has to stay back and continue working on the army.
that
good.
tracks.
Protect
Yeah.
Skektek.
Well, yeah, because he makes them the juice that makes
He's
them
the
live
only
forever.
one who knows how to do
He's the
any
only
of
one
this
that
shit.
fucking knows how to do that.
And it's seriously like pull a lever at this point. Like
They-
it's
but they-
basically automated.
But it is
No.
now, yeah. But
Yeah.
he fucking broke the crystal doing it the first time. So
True.
the Emperor was like, "You
You
can't
know,
leave your bedroom until you fix
s-
this."
Something is gonna go wrong, and they are gonna need Skektek
right.
to fix
Yeah.
it.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
for sure. Plus, he's probably not the best fighter. Let's be honest.
So there are there are two creatures that have been helping Skektek this whole time. They're called Grunax. They're a little bit taller than Gelfling. They're a fully different race, right?
Sure.
They're a different type of creature. But they're like bipedal. They walk on their and they look kind of like roaches, sort of, I guess, little
Oh,
beady eyes.
That's fun.
But they've been working with Skektek, and earlier they helped Chamberlain by giving the general a placebo. Chamberlain was like, "Hey, when we all have essence later,
Mhm.
give the general a placebo. I want to see what happens."
Whoa.
And so they helped him, and so they approached Chamberlain now in the castle before they go off to war. And the Grunex are like, "Hey, earlier you promised us you'd set us free if we did this whole placebo thing."
Sure.
And that would be dope. And Chamberlain's like, "I don't recall doing that."
Chamberlain's like, I
Um,
only collect favors. I don't
Yeah,
give them
I don't
out
give
later.
them out.
Yeah.
That comes up
let
later.
that
and
be
also
less about
funny.
making deals with your own ruling
Yeah.
class.
So the scientist is struggling to make a new creature from Dead or Atham, obviously.
Right.
And he
Just
leaves,
Challenge, because that's crazy.
so he leaves the room and accidentally leaves a blade on the table. And there's two Grunex slaves, and they're in there, and they find the blade. The scientist goes into the chambers where the hunter awakens.
Mhm.
So the hunter wakes up and he's all fucking strung up on shit.
Yeah.
And at the same time, the archer awakens, obviously, at the heretic's home.
And we still don't know what happened to Agra, right?
Agra has
She just like
disappeared.
disappeared.
She
Okay.
straight up disappeared.
She's gone.
Poofed.
She poofed. So Skekmal, the hunter, asks where Rian is, and they say, "Well, he's in Stone and Wood." And the hunter's like, "I haven't finished my hunt, so I'm
Whoa.
going for that
He's
motherfucker."
back.
So the
Comes back from the dead and is immediately like, I gotta get
gets
back
back
on the
to
job.
business.
just fucking
Yeah.
on the horse, baby. So this is later, but the Grunak eventually take the blade. Their lips have been sewed together so that
Sure.
because they're
Oh.
They're
slaves.
serval.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
They use the knife to remove the shit on their lips.
I love the idea of a puppet cutting like
Strings from it.
connecting it together, because it's like, where does it end? You
Does
know,
this and then
Yeah.
it like rips all of its seams apart, turns into a pile of cloth, is free now.
Literally, I had mentioned this other puppet movie before that's called Strings that
Okay.
has similarly very deep lore to
Yeah.
it for a single movie. And yeah, in that movie, the puppets like kill themselves by cutting the string.
No.
That's what they
That's
do.
over them.
Yeah, that's over them. And
That's
it's like
so
a part of their story
cool.
world. They're like, we are attached to the sky by strings,
Oh,
and we kill
wow.
ourselves by cutting it.
I
That's so
can't
much
wait to
cooler
listen
than-
Or
to the
die by if
podcast
it's
episode about that movie.
Yeah.
That is cool.
Okay, we can do that sometime.
So the Grunak, they attack the scientists. This is a total aside, by the way, but it's interesting.
Yeah.
The Grunak attack the scientists. They're so small and he's
Yeah.
so big.
Just like
He throws one of them into the crystal chasm, which is the fiery pit
Oh,
over
yeah.
which the crystal is suspended. He kills the other one, just straight up in cold blood kills the other one. By the way, other aside, these were the last two remaining Gruneks
of their
on Thra.
race. Yeah.
They were
Okay, so they're gone.
they were genocided by who?
Of course they
The
were.
Skeksis.
Yeah.
Of course they were.
So the Grunaks are no longer a race, but this becomes important because later he uses the Grunak body with the Aratham body. So he uses the one remaining Grunak with the dead spitter and creates the Gartham out of them.
artificial life.
The
Oh.
Gartham are the guards in
They're
the
a little
movie.
A
Frankenstein.
homunculus.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's the Grunaks are
I
a
can't believe he
small
pulled
role.
that off.
small
That he
role,
was
but
told to like
interesting.
bring life
be
to a
a Frankenstein.
Yeah, and he was like, "Yeah, I
I'll
can do
get.
that.
There's got to be
I'll
some
figure
way.
it out."
I mean, these creatures are basically big,
I
you
think
know,
Skektek can do
potato
anything,
clocks.
honestly.
Apparently.
He's like actually so smart.
Well, they
Yeah.
are. They are.
Or he gets really lucky.
I mean, we talk shit on the Skeksis.
We talk
Because
shit.
they're gross.
because they're gross and because they're really mean, but like they are like divine beings.
That's
in
true.
Some way.
in some sense.
But-
They must have some kind of like knowledge of the soul.
yeah.
What
They're
what
like
are the
demigods,
mystics
honestly.
doing?
They're essentially
though?
demigods.
The mystics are
The Mystech. What is he doing? He's doing nothing.
He is. The mystics all can like do magic, right?
Kind of.
Like they
Before
have
what?
like earth magic.
The only
He's
mystic
probably
that's
figuring
been
out
helpful
how to do that.
is the archer.
Right.
He's the only he helped Augur find the song.
Well,
he helped fight
Because
the
all-
hunter.
Yeah,
because
all
they're pacifistic.
well,
They
and
don't wanna
because
do anything.
all the other Skeksis are all pretty worthless, also.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
like,
That's true.
so
I'm just
their
saying there's
compliments.
Skektek.
would be-
There's Skektek. Now there's a Mystic version.
I'm
not
just.
to
He's
jump ahead
probably
too much,
figuring
but-
out like if you like sing like.
You can like
It,
you
like,
could
boil
stop
it.
an
Yeah, it
earthquake
like
or whatever.
summons birds or
Yeah.
some shit. Like he's
Yeah.
probably figuring
Well,
out.
I mentioned a long time ago now that when they were sundered
yeah.
and the earth shook and there was a massive earthquake that killed many creatures,
Right.
the mystics stopped the earthquake with their voice.
Yeah.
So like they can control nature with their voice.
This is how I've been seeing it, because like we keep wondering like why didn't the mystics do more and
Mhm.
like all this other stuff. It feels like when they were together as the Urskek, they were like the mystic side of them is like their like ego or like super ego.
Sure.
And then the
Okay, yeah,
Skeksis
getting
were like
Freudian
the
here.
Skeksis were like the id, like the base instincts.
Yeah, right.
And once they split, they like lost their ego that was like controlling them.
Yeah.
So the id, without something to hold it back, is just gonna like go and do its most terrible thing.
He's gonna fuck everything.
But the super ego is just like completely without drive to do anything,
That's-
because
yeah,
all it
100%.
does is hold back the id and be like a
100%.
logical,
Yep.
like complement.
I
to
mean,
it.
like,
Okay, CJ.
we're
that
getting
makes
we're
sense.
getting into the movie again, but they seem so reluctant to fucking finish. You know, they're
yeah,
it's like, oh, we
Anything.
have to go to the fucking castle.
it's like
Well,
such
they're
a
two halves of those same hole.
right.
So.
So
Yeah.
that it's like they aren't doing anything because their whole existence before was just like holding back these guys, and
Yeah.
now those guys aren't a part of them anymore, and they're just like, huh.
This is nice.
I
All
guess
right.
I could chill.
Now we're just like, what? We have no reason to do anything.
It also seems like the archer really didn't want to get involved because
Yeah.
when he first met, they've known each other, but when Augur was seeking the song of Thra, the archer gave her a riddle and then disappeared forever.
How about a riddle for you?
Yeah.
like, whoa, you're throwing it back at me.
Okay, so they're at Stone and Wood. The Skeksis arrive. This is gonna be the fucking final battle. And
Okay.
honestly,
It's happening.
there are not that many Gelfling there. So I don't know if it's just like they didn't want to digitally add a bunch, or if they were
Yeah.
like, these are 10 puppets. There are
Right.
not very many. Rian immediately challenges Skekso the Emperor to a 1v1.
Oh, hell
He
yeah.
immediately
Yes.
is like, I have this fucking dual glaive.
Yep.
I'm gonna 1v1
I'm
you,
feeling
bro.
big confident right now.
1v1 you, bro.
Your
And
name is Skekso? Yeah. I'll take you
Chamberlain
down.
pops in and goes, wait, my liege. And he goes,
Yeah.
this would not be smart. You send,
Right. Yes.
He doesn't say it like that. I'm sorry.
He's got the only thing that kills us
Yeah.
for sure.
He doesn't say it like that, and but he knows exactly that.
Yeah.
CJ. What he says is, it would be beneath you to fight a
Oh,
Gelfling.
yes.
So
I
he
was-
suggests
I was
instead
clever.
that the general fight.
Right. Which
Because-
is his job.
Oh,
Yeah.
Chamberlain
And because
also
he's the only
doesn't
one who's
like
like,
that
yeah, he's the only one who's
dude.
like against him all the time.
Chamberlain fucking hates the general.
Right.
The general and
Chamberlain's
Chamberlain
so
have fought
crafty.
all over and over again about who is the right hand man.
Yes.
And so he remember, if you remember, Chamberlain saved the general's life a
Right.
little bit ago. So he's like, this is beneath you. The general should fight him. And the emperor is like, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So
Delegate.
It does. That's the thing. Chamberlain makes sense.
the general
It's the
and
general's job.
the general
It's
it
his
is
one job.
the general and Rian start to he's a general of what army?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Of what
That's
army?
why it's like,
he
yeah,
he
you should
has
do
to
this.
be the army or he is the general of nothing.
In the movie, there's another Skeksis. I don't know if it's just the Skeksis that got promoted,
Yeah.
who's called the Gartham Master. He's the one that fights Chamberlain in the beginning. We'll get there.
Sure.
He's the Gartham Master when the Gartham exist. There are no Gartham.
There's no
right now.
army for them
So
to control. Yeah.
So there's a Skeksis who's like, one day I'll get a job.
Yeah.
One
What?
day
They
I'll have
call
a
him the
role."
Gartham Master, and they're like,
He's-
"What is that?"
he's the skin turn. He's like, I'll take a roll.
Skin turn, Skek turn,
Skek turn.
Yeah, he's-
Skin turn.
Okay, so Rian and the general are 1v1ing.
Yeah.
The general, big dude, seems totally in control, but then Rian does a dope backflip.
Yeah.
Does a dope flip and plunges
That's
the
always
glaive,
good.
the dual glaive, into the general's side.
Whoa.
The glaive appears to be draining the general's life force, like taking his essence.
Cool.
He pulls the blade out, Rian does, and screams, "I am no killer." So, like, what was the fucking point, dude?
Rian.
Give someone
Why-
else the dual glaive.
Why would you challenge
The
him
dual glaive needs to be in
1v1?
the hands of
Of
a
a
killer.
stone cold
Yeah.
killer, yeah.
That is psychotic.
So the glaive has a stone at the bottom of it when it's put together. It has a little stone, and it appears to be gathering the essence. So it
Yeah.
starts to glow. And the emperor is like, yeah, right. Yeah, he's just
Just
going
anytime there's any essence,
He's
he
just
just
like
like
a
starts
ring-
sucking on
like
it.
a ring pop. So the general has been stabbed but is not dead. And the emperor is like, what the fuck was that about, dude? Like what you took his essence? Like what the fuck was that? And Rian literally just shouts, "Next." It's like,
Oh.
so he
He's
doesn't
gonna-
kill him,
he's
but he
gonna beat
wounds
all of
him
them.
badly.
You need
That
to,
actually is such a good power play.
Can you make me like a meme, you know, like Batman meme where he like is breaking a gun and he's like, "We do not use this. This is the weapon of the enemy." Can you do that but with like Rian
and the
and the
dual
dual
glaive.
glaive?
I see.
Yeah, that's got a wide
Sure.
audience.
Yeah. Hey, if they get it, they'll get it.
So the other Skeksis prepare to attack, and the women Gelfling who have wings grab all the smoke bombs they made earlier and fly ahead and start dropping bombs on the Skeksis.
Nice.
So the Skeksis are getting all fucked up, but then they reveal that their armor that they have on has like anti-air weaponry. So they have like surface-to-air
Whoa.
blades.
Dude, Hex
What?
or
Skek Tech has
Skek
been
has
like
been busy,
Skek
dude.
Tech has been in the lab like Dr. Dre.
making like the Mark 12 Iron Man suits, just like
So they have surface-to-air blades.
That's crazy.
And they strike down one of the Madras from the sky, and she dies.
Not the Madras.
One of the Madras gets
I'm
shot
not
out of the
sure
sky.
Don't you not see Skek Tech at the dinner table?
I don't think
whenever
he's
they show
there,
the,
yeah.
all the
Oh, is he not
Skeksis
there?
eating, I'm pretty
Oh,
sure
He's
he's
always
not
in
there.
his little
Working.
lab.
He's always, I say he's like Dr. Dre. He's got a pen in the pad. He's working in the lab.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
he's
he's
trying to
just-
get this damn label off.
he is just such a good boy. You know what? Maybe he doesn't. I hope he doesn't get thrown into a deep pit.
He's really the VIP of the bad guys.
Yeah,
honestly.
he's doing a
He
lot.
is
He's
the
the
best.
MVP for sure.
Other
Yeah.
than Hunter, he's the only one doing anything.
He's the,
Yeah.
as a
No,
VIP.
Chamberlain's doing
General
stuff. It's
can't-
just for his own
General
benefit.
cannot beat a literal tiny Muppet man at
Just
sword fighting.
Step on him.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
That's his job.
Yeah. So, speaking of the general, the Chamberlain follows the general into the forest. So the general is wounded badly
Mhm.
and is traipses into the forest.
Yeah.
Chamberlain follows him, and the general
Like an elephant going up to die.
yes, the general asks for Chamberlain's assistance, and this time Chamberlain says no.
Oh,
They're
dang.
alone. He
There's
says
no favors
no,
left.
and he
Oh.
stabs him in the stomach again. So the general
There-
It's pretty
dies,
brutal.
turns to dust, and crumbles into a pile of ash.
Hell yeah.
There is a mystic who's just like,
Who's just
what is
chilling.
happening
Yeah, right,
right
yeah.
now?
Ow! Like all of
Yeah.
a sudden his tummy hurts.
That's
Yeah.
why it's like the mystics are that's another thing is they're just so chill. I think part of that is like if you know that you're connected to some person and if like
And
if
they're the
something
worst
bad happens
person you
right
know.
and they're like the dumbest piece of shit ever, you have to like come to terms with the fact that
At
you
any
might
moment,
just disappear
at any
one day.
moment, you could disappear.
Because fate has bound you to just the worst
A fucking
creature.
idiot.
The most foul idiot you could imagine. And like one day they just like trip and hit their head and you just turn off. It's like, yeah, we're just gonna chill and like smoke weed in the forest because I don't want to think about that.
Okay, so here we go. We're back. So the general dead.
Yeah.
Chamberlain finally
Rip.
has killed his foe.
We're 2 Skeksis down.
Rian is back doing absolute work with the dual glaive.
Yeah.
He's fucking
He's
shredding
doing sick
bitches.
trip.
But
He's
not
doing-
killing them.
Right.
The hunter has now arrived at the fight,
Oh shit.
and
I
he
forgot he
charges
came
in.
back
It's a
life.
rematch.
He charges in to attack Rian, who's still wielding the dual glaive.
This
At-
is a real battle now.
At this moment, the archer awakens and rises within the heretics. He's still up at the top of the circle of the suns is a very tall
Oh, I know where
Sure.
this is going.
pillar mountain. It's a tall ass
Right.
mountain. Yeah.
Just a really tall mountain.
It's
It's
a
like really, and it's
really
really
tall.
far away.
really far away.
It's like super far away. It took them like days to get
it did take
there.
them days to get there, and then
Yeah.
they took a tunnel to get back to Groton in like 15 minutes.
Right.
So
well, you know,
they had, at that point they had unlocked the whole map and they fast
they
traveled.
just
Yeah.
exactly.
So the archer awakens and rises.
Uh-huh.
The hunt back at the fight. The hunter grabs the dual glaive and breaks it back into 2 pieces. It's no
Oh.
longer.
That's
That didn't seem that
Fine.
And he
hard, I
holds
guess.
Rian. He holds Rian by the neck.
Oh.
The archer stands at the cliff's edge outside of the heretic's home. The
Yeah.
hunter grabs Rian's skull and begins squeezing it and crushing it.
oh my god,
The archer flings himself from the cliff's edge.
that's fucking rules.
And as the archer falls, his body turns into sparkles of light.
Ah.
The hunter turns to dust, and from the dust appears Agra.
Whoa!
What?
She was
Whoa.
inside. She like downloaded herself inside of him.
She put herself
God.
inside the hunter.
That's cool.
At one point,
That is
and
cool.
then at that point, someone says, "Mother Agra, are you all right?" The Gelfling are like, "Holy shit!"
Holy shit!
And she says, "No, I just came back from the dead."
Also, I almost killed a gelfling.
That's
Right? Like she was a part of that.
well,
She-
sure. It's like her. She was like,
Okay, I see. I was this whole time like thinking, I was like, why didn't the hunter, when he like basically died the first time, why didn't he dissipate?
Yeah, right.
because he didn't die.
He didn't.
Not for
Yeah.
real.
Yeah, he didn't die.
But yeah, but also because
Because
Agra
Agra was
in-
Agra
keeping
was
him
with
alive
him.
with her
Yeah.
life
Yeah.
essence, like
Yes.
a philosopher's stone from
Yes,
Full Metal
yes.
Alchemist.
And so
time.
that's-
Right, sure.
Yes.
And we
the
and
references.
earlier when the fires were lit and the crystal was humming, his hand twitched.
Yes.
So like
Yeah.
as Thra was reawakening, like Agra's within him,
And
like
Yes.
awakening.
I
So
see.
It's like
Yeah.
when they put those computer chips into those monkeys and then it kills the
Okay.
monkey obviously
Mhm.
because that's a horrible idea, but then you download a new version of Meta and
Mhm.
all of a sudden they're like oh, oh, ooh, 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 ah, and they could speak English and they have ads running
Yeah,
and they just like
yeah.
become the
And they
spokesman.
can search
that can't be a thing.
Google and
Nonsense.
Wikipedia.
Exactly.
That cannot be
It's
possible.
And they
just-
know all about anime.
It's oh my god! Could you imagine a world where all the monkeys? We are getting too close to the rise of the apes. We should not be giving apes knowledge of anime. They
The-
will
That's-
rise up.
that's
The battle
what's gonna
continues.
happen.
The battle continues, and just as the Skeksis prepare to begin another attack, because it's turn-based, obviously.
Yeah.
Some spears fly into the battlefield, and it's the Sifa tribe. The Sifa are the ones that worship
Nice.
death from earlier.
yeah.
They help them find the Circle of the Suns.
Yeah.
They've
Goth
arrived.
kids.
One by one, other Gelfling clans arrive, and as do the Aratham warriors.
Oh, they did come. They just need more time.
So the Skeksis begin absolutely pissing themselves. Chamberlain
Good.
calls for a retreat. The Emperor refuses, and he pulls out a scepter
Skeksa.
wielding the Darkening. So this is his final. This is his
Yeah.
nuclear option.
Which one is it?
Say it.
it's
Say
both.
it again.
Okay.
think
Oh
it's
my
both.
God. Oh no.
I think it's both.
Run, little men.
This is the nuclear option, right? So Deet looks at her hands, and they're starting to glow purple.
Oh, she knows how.
Oh,
to
'cause
har-
she's a
She
part
knows
of
how to
it.
The
harness
Emperor,
the
right? So the
darkness.
scepter is glowing. Deet's hands are glowing. The Emperor slams down the earth, and purple light flows through his scepter into the ground and vaporizes Gelfling. Like just straight up vaporizes them.
Is it like the pumpkin bomb
I
from
was
Spider-Man?
also thinking about the pumpkin.
Wow,
bomb
I
from
don't know.
Spider-Man.
I don't
Do
know
you
what you're
guys
talking
know?
about.
You guys don't know the pumpkin bomb from the scariest scene in any
Which
Marvel
Spider-Man?
movie?
Which Spider, like the Tobey Maguire one?
Yeah, the
Yes.
first one with the Green Goblin, and the Green Goblin shows up and he's like, "I'm gonna show you a goblin time," and he throws a pumpkin bomb, and there's guys there, and they just turn into skeletons.
Yeah, that's ba-
immediately.
well, these
That's
peop-
cool.
These people
it's
dissipate.
so scary.
Yeah, that is. I do not remember that being. in
It's
the
like
first
cartoonish.
Spider-Man.
They like turn to skeletons, and
It
like the
is.
skeletons turn into dust.
I like thought CJ made this up because I hadn't seen that movie in so long, and we rewatched it together.
feels
And I
like
was like,
CJ
wow,
did.
that's really scary.
It's terrifying. They're all like watching in horror, and then their skeletons are also like, and then the skeletons dissolve.
So that's what happened to the Gelfling.
So that's what happened to the
That's
Gelflings.
what
happened.
Pumpkin bombed.
Oh
But with purple. Okay, so Deet then sticks her hands out and begins to absorb some of the dark light. So she's able to transfer the energy
so
to
cool.
herself. She appears to absorb all of it, and the ground returns to normal, but then her eyes are bright purple. And she yells, "Get away from my friends! Get away from my friends!" Somebody hit that. Somebody hit me with that. She's not gonna do it. Get away. She shouts.
Liz,
Okay.
Liz,
She
do it.
shouts,
What?
CJ, say get away from my friends.
Yeah.
Get away from them, my friends.
There you go. So she lifts her head up and shoots massive purple lightning bolts out of her hands. Or
Oh
out
shit!
of her
Like
body.
Whoa.
Palpatine.
So the collector, which is Puss Boy, he's the one with pus all over his face and stuff.
Puss Boy.
He's hit, and at first
Good.
he says,
Good.
"At first he says that wasn't so bad," and then his head explodes.
Awesome.
I like that.
All of the
Oh, that
other
wasn't
deaths
bad.
have been so like
Well,
linked
he's
to
not
some other creature,
dead, is
or
he?
like
So he straight up dies. Yeah.
his head explodes.
His
I
head
thought he was
exploded.
in the movie.
And
No, he's not in the movie.
Some mystic somewhere.
You're just
his
thinking
head
of all the
His head
other.
exploded.
You're
yeah.
just thinking of all. Yeah, right. He's just like.
So Chamberlain again calls for a retreat, and then the Emperor's like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
this time, yes."
That was
yeah.
scary.
yeah.
That's crazy. She
Chamberlain
just like
is right most
reverse
of the time.
carded us in a big way.
So
No
the
reverse.
Gelfling cheer and cheer and cheer.
A lot of them are dead.
Deet, her eyes still purple. She walks slowly away into the forest,
Oh, she's
and
corrupted.
Rion chases after her.
She's so cool.
So we
Yes.
leave them for a second.
She
in the
did
forest.
what needed to be done.
Mm-hmm.
We're leaving them for a second. Brea finds the dual glaive, the broken pieces of it on the
Yeah.
ground. And there's a shard of the crystal at the base. That's the thing I was talking about earlier that was
Oh,
absorbing
Right.
the essence.
Yeah.
Agra
seems important.
recognizes it as the lost shard of the crystal of truth.
Oh.
Oh, so she found it.
They found it.
The rebel took that.
Yeah.
He had it the whole time.
The heretic?
So he was they were just looking for the lost piece of the crystal, but
And
he
this
just
guy was like,
he just
"I got
found
it."
it and was using it the whole time.
I guess.
Yeah.
So let me.
What a waste of time.
Yeah, let me.
He may not have known, right?
me-
they all forgot
That's
about
true.
it.
They all kind of
True,
fucking
yeah.
forgot.
He was
Yeah.
just like, cool rock.
They were just it was like the instant it broke off, he just like took it, and then they were like, "Where's the broken crystal piece?" And they're all like, "I don't know." So then Agra was like, "Well, it must have fallen underground. Better sort through the whole earth."
I'll go down there for
She
about
did that for like
50
100 years.
Yeah.
That's
So,
crazy.
Brea recognizes it right away. For something clicks with her. She
Yeah.
recognizes it as the key to ending Skeksis' power,
Yeah.
and to unite the Gelfling. So
And-
Rion is in the woods. He finds Deet in the woods.
Should
Her-
always bring Deet when you go in the woods.
You should. Her
Like-
face is scarred, and she has purple veins, and her
Oh.
eyes are deep purple and black, like it's all purple.
Deep
and black.
purple.
Deep's
Yeah.
purple.
Yeah.
She catches eyes with Rion and walks away.
Oh.
So she is now like the darkness.
She's
Wow.
been purpled.
She's the the darkness doesn't imprison her. She
And-
imprisons. But also it imprisons she.
The forest behind her starts to like close.
Whoa.
So she
Oh.
like the thrall like closes her off as she's
Whoa.
walking away from
That's-
Rian.
So the dark energy is still the energy of Thrall. But
Yeah.
it's like
It's like Thrall fighting back.
it is, but it's also we're learning a lot about like the
Well,
the life force of this.
You have to remember that like the crystal cracking fucked Thrall.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like it was that moment when they tried to all the way back to when they were trying to send the Urskek home and they
Mhm.
couldn't because the one Urskek had fucking darkness inside of her.
Yeah.
Well, and they all did, I guess. The crystal cracked and it like it like totally fucked up Thrall. And so the darkness is that.
Yeah.
And like being unleashed.
And like Agra is just energy. She just like became completely physically into energy and like entered a guy for a while and then just popped out unchanged.
It's the coolest
Like-
part of the show.
Like a
sure.
a photon being absorbed and then just being re-emitted eventually and
It's-
being like, I'm back.
It's the
Hey.
dopest part of the show.
It's
When you
cool.
think Agra's gone and then like the hunter's like, I'm getting ready to, and then the hunter explodes and Agra appears.
This is all Lord of the Rings. This is the Battle of Helm's Deep, and they're all like, "We don't need more people," and,
And
then
then
all
the
the
ghost
people
pirates show
eventually
up.
shows up, and then Gandalf is like, "I've died, but actually, I've come back as something more." And then,
didn't we already talk about this that nothing is original and shut up.
Yeah.
I've all. That's the theme. That's the theme of the podcast.
Nothing is original and shut
Is
up.
that everything that's new is bad, and everything that is okay is just based on something that already exists.
All right, so Deed is gone, and Rian was attempting. So Rian's out in the forest.
That's
now.
like they were like they kind of had a thing, right?
they had it.
Yeah.
Toward the
That's-
end.
They were like a little flirty.
That's the second girlfriend
That
that he's
he's
had.
lost.
I was gonna
That's
say she was kind of rebound, honestly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she was.
yeah,
but
yeah.
after seeing her fight like that,
Yeah.
like that's
yeah,
but
it's
his
deep
girlfriends
also.
are like one of them gets turned into a potion. One of them, one of them is harnessed into the darkness.
Yeah,
And it's
one
like
of them
come,
does get-
cut the guy a break. It's like
Yeah.
fucking Sokka. His girlfriend
Yeah.
turns to the moon. It's
Not
again.
It's
Yeah.
it's like rough. It's rough going.
Yeah.
All right, so Agra rallies the Gelfling. Brea holds up the shard. Back at the Heretic's lair, really briefly, we see Hup is back and awake. Hup is up.
Because
he was
My
injured by the hunter
favorite.
earlier.
Yeah.
Hup is back up, and he uses Lore's blue stone to resurrect him.
Nice.
So Hup and Lore are back at it.
God, I wish
Heck yeah.
Lore should have been there earlier. He could have beat the shit.
He
out
could
of
have
these guys.
absolutely
Of
fucking
everybody, yeah.
annihilated
He's
the
a big
Skeksis.
rock golem. It's
Dude,
crazy.
I love Lore. Anyway,
Me
that's
too.
That's it.
I wish
That's
there
how
was
the
a show
That's
about
how
him.
the show ends. So we get a post credit scene where the scientist is finalizing the army.
Yeah.
The crystal ascends back into the chamber as the defeated Skeksis all return to the castle.
Yeah.
Chamberlain says, "Look on the bright side, we still live."
Yeah. I
Um,
mean, we do. Like by definition, not all of us do.
But like they all fear being overwhelmed by the Gelfling. The scientist enters and is like, "Hey, look at this fucking cool amalgam I just made."
Oh yeah, remember that impossible task you gave me like 3 days
Hey,
ago?
why are
Just
there
to
fewer of
distract
you?
me or whatever.
Knocked it out.
Where's my friend Puss Boy? I
Yeah.
loved him.
Yeah, we're gonna celebrate now.
Oh, his head exploded.
Oh, I
Um,
guess I'll invent a new friend,
So he enters and he's like, "Look at this fucking shit," and it's a Gartham, which we eventually see.
which
in
we
the-
know.
which
from
we
the-
see.
That's crazy.
What an amazing
End of the show. What I fucking hate that they canceled it is that like it's just so perfectly set up. It's like
Right.
Lore gets back in
Yeah.
it. Like
Hup is back in it.
The unfortunate thing though is, as we're going to finish up by talking about the movie though, is we know all of these Gelfling die
Yeah.
in a big genocide.
spoiler.
So
alert.
so no matter
It's not a spoiler. That's
now
literally
we're-
the
now
next thing that's gonna
that
happen.
happens
I
is
know.
that all of the Gelfling perish.
Yes.
It would have been pretty brutal to watch that
Oh,
play
you
out
don't-
on the screen.
You don't want to see Gelfling genocide season 2.
It's like it was already pretty rough watching like a couple of the mystics die,
Yeah.
just because they happen to be linked to some
Some
other
fucking
dude.
asshole.
Their
Yeah.
head just
Or,
explodes
like,
one
Just
day.
because like a Gelfling or like a Skeksis got a DUI.
Yeah,
and now,
or,
and
like-
now all of a sudden I'm in jail.
Or like how many more girlfriends can this
Really
guy
go through.
have who just like, oh, this one got eaten by a big monster.
I honestly assumed they would have set him up with Brea.
Right.
Right?
Like,
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because like
But that's nobility with nobility, though. I think,
Right.
so.
I think there's though I feel like there's speculation about who the Gelflings in the movie are descended
Yes,
from.
there is. Yeah.
And
Mm.
there's some perhaps hints
Yeah.
and such.
Yeah,
perhaps.
The other thing I was gonna say though, as far as like, yeah, we know like none of the Gelflings survive, unfortunately. Even though it was canceled, is that the show I think is actually a very good prequel, just because there's so much lore
Yeah.
to the Dark
Yes.
Crystal that like
It.
didn't exist in the movie, and
Yep.
prequels are notoriously extremely hard to make because everybody already knows what's gonna happen.
Yep.
So
But
from,
like we know technically what happens with the from the movie
From
since
what-
that came first, but
from what I know,
there's still so much we didn't know.
Yeah.
from what I know about Jim Henson and like how he did things, is he was very good at coming up with these like worlds. He had a lot of these ideas. I think probably after watching the movie, I think a lot of these ideas that are present in all of this like other material probably existed. Like he probably made at least the ideas of a lot of this stuff and probably kind of put some of that into the movie and then just like didn't expound upon it a lot. But his real big like negative that he had as like a director, as like a storyteller, is he did not for the life of him know how to put ideas together in a plot that like made sense as a
Yeah.
plot. Like all of his stuff before it gets like edited, and like he had like a lot of people around whom are like, no, you have to like make a story. You
You have
right
to
now
make this make sense.
right now you're just like saying things which are cool things, but none of them like create a narrative.
Right.
So his whole thing was like he probably had a lot of these ideas for like the world that they lived in, and like these ideas of like the Urskek and how they relate to each other,
And the clans, which
and like
I don't
the
think
clans,
come up at all
which
in the movie,
probably
but
like I'm sure he had like ideas for like different styles of Gelfling based on the areas they're in and stuff like that.
There is a little bit to that. In the,
Right.
Yeah.
And so like all of that was probably there, but like he probably came, because I know like he had a really tough time making this movie happen. Jim Henson did,
Yeah.
because he came with this idea and was talking to producers, and they're like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" Like they had no idea. He originally wanted to make the movie so that all the speaking roles were not English. He wanted them to be speaking the native language.
Hell yes.
Imagine
of-
how
of the
cool that
thrall.
would have been.
So like
I
you're
never would have watched it as a kid.
so you're supposed to like infer what's going on based on like what they're doing and their like intonation and stuff, but they weren't supposed to speak any English.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be like it's like high fantasy, so
Yeah.
they were like
I
they have
need
their own
the
language.
Henson cut of this movie.
Which some of that made it in the
Henson
movie
edit.
because some of the
The
characters
poplings.
Yeah.
speaking-
And Kira speaks to
Right.
animals at one point with a very weird.
and the Skeksis speak in like old Skeksis or something or
Yeah.
some shit every once in a while, but like it was supposed to all be that.
Yeah.
So that's like
That would
that's
have been
his-
incredible.
that's again it's like on one hand it's cool, but on the other hand it is a tricky thing to do if you're making a movie.
I mean, this movie would have not been made today
No.
had
Yeah.
he tried to pitch this today. Absolutely not.
Are you sure they made the Netflix series? I mean, I guess that's because it's based on IP.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
because
based on the
because
movie.
it's based
already
on an
cared.
extremely popular cult movie,
Yeah.
and Jim Henson, his name is attached to it.
The
Yeah.
Jim Henson Company is, doing pretty well.
Right. Yeah.
So,
So I just no to Liz's point earlier. It's impossible to know if you watch the movie, and that's all you watch. It's impossible to know how deep it goes. It's
Yeah.
so, and like this was really the first franchise for me where I realized the 90-minute movie, you watch it, it's like it is insane everything that leads up to it, and they did it so well in the series.
It makes it makes you use your imagination now. That's what I meant. That's what one of the biggest things we talk about on the show over and over and over and over is when you keep making explanations for every single thing, it always gets worse because you're always like, I need to know what is this about. But like when you just make this world and you like make these, the problem is a lot of the times a lot of these pieces don't totally make sense when you put them all together. Like when you lay them out bare, it doesn't make sense.
Hmm.
But when you have that mystique of like fantasy around things, and you have this whole like, well, they live in like this, high fantasy kind of medieval time, and it's like I'm a lot more willing to accept that like maybe the properties of the crystal aren't totally like they don't always behave exactly as the way that they should, but like it doesn't matter. It's like magic or whatever. Who cares?
A mystic jumps off of a cliff to kill himself and just like turns into fun light
Sparkly
dust.
dust.
He didn't even hit the ground and die. Like
How
That's
come?
true. He didn't actually fully commit
How
suicide.
Yeah, they should have showed him laying there in the Peter Griffin pose for like 5 seconds,
point-
and then he dies.
By the time this episode comes out, there was a recent interview with Alan Moore, very famous comic writer, created The Watchmen,
Yep.
stuff like that. That he's definitely leaning into a Miyazaki type. I mean, I think they're similar.
He's becoming completely
and
jaded
no,
with comics.
No, it's he said he thinks that fandom has ruined everything.
Yeah.
And it's to the point of that he's like, because they all want
They want more.
everything and more,
Mhm.
which it's not supposed to be like that.
I agree.
There
That's why.
needs to be less is more.
That's why we
The lore you
as,
less.
I was gonna
Yes.
say that's why we as
Less
a
is
podcast
lore.
hate our
Less is
listeners.
Yes,
Lore.
exactly.
We
Less is lore.
despise you.
Another world, another time.
Whoa. Okay. So
In
we're
the
now.
age of wonder.
We're now okay.
We're not in
Get-
another world though.
Yeah, get ready, Lizzie. We're ready to happen. We did our research.
I clipped so hard on another
That's
world
all
another
right.
time.
That's funny.
That's how every fucking thing starts out. That's how the book starts. That's how the movie starts.
Yeah.
How the show starts.
The-
Another world.
Yeah.
Another time.
You know it's gonna be good. So we're in the movie now.
We're in the movie.
We don't
Welcome
need
to
to, we
the
don't need to
movie.
describe everything that happens because not a lot actually happens,
Right.
and we already know all the characters.
So here's the thing: we're at the tail end of the Age of Division,
Right.
even though they call it the Age of Wonder.
Yep.
And we are mere days from the next Great Conjunction.
Yeah.
is this the third or the fourth?
this
Trine?
would be the
Yeah.
third.
The end of the third trine. I
Yeah.
believe.
This is the third conjunction because the
Right.
first one,
brought
the Urskek show up.
Yeah.
Second
The
one.
second
split
one they
them.
split.
the third
The
one.
third
The
one,
third
no one
happens.
knows.
We
Wait,
don't know yet.
What happens?
Mhm.
You know it's gonna be good because there's a narrator at the beginning who's like,
The land
It-
was green
"It
and
was
good.
it
Mhm.
was a time long ago."
And then he says the land was green and good, and then the crystal cracked.
"Yeah,
And by the way, growing up, I watched this movie a bunch as a kid. Growing up, the way he said "until the crystal cracked" terrified me because it's
Oh.
like the second he
'Cause you're-
says it, there's like lightning and shit.
because you're like a little kid and you're like, my world is pretty good right now. What if something bad
what if
happens?"
my crystal cracks?
I
And
I
then it
was
does.
really, really scared as a kid that the sun would explode, and everyone told me that's not.
That won't happen
It's
until
like
you're long.
billions.
I was and that scared me way more. And I was like, oh, okay.
Okay.
So I was like, not only will everything I ever know be destroyed one day by the sun exploding, but also I'll be so dead it
won't even
be
matter.
incomprehensible
Yeah.
to me. Great, thanks, Grandma.
All right, so the cruel Skeksis,
I'm gonna sleep great tonight.
the mystics, etc., etc. So we start with the emperor, as you guys know. The emperor lay dying.
Yeah.
So Skekso is in his
Skekso,
deathbed.
Finally.
he
Fucking
is. They have had
Skekso.
some bad years.
They've had
because
some bad years.
They were young and virile before, but
So they
now
still-
they're
like 2,000 years ago.
They
But they were,
still
like,
maintain. No, that's earlier in this millennia. So they still
Right.
maintain the crystal ceremony that they
Right.
do in the show. The very first episode of the show, they go to the crystal and they try and take life from it. They
Mhm.
still maintain that ceremony to this day, but the emperor is dying, and clearly, like,
There's
again,
just no. It's tapped out.
They've
There's
t-
no more juice.
and what we find out at this point is that as we've already said, the world is out of Gelfling.
Yep.
The Skeksis have already literally committed genocide, and they think that there are 0 Gelfling
A
left.
couple genocides.
Yeah,
I mean, a lot of
genocides. Several, yeah.
So they are using anything and everything they can to tap for energy. And what we find later is that they've moved to podlinks.
You'd have to imagine they also destroyed many species just from like the sort of global climate change that
Oh,
they have
yeah.
created by
Yeah.
sucking all the life essence out of stuff.
Well, they sort of like accidentally killed that one species where
Well-
the guy just like threw him into the crystal pit. and
Well,
then
that
made
was
the
that was pretty on
Garatham.
purpose.
Oh, the Grunat?
Well, they had 2
Yeah,
left, and they're
yeah.
Presumably they were killing them.
No, they
at
killed
some
them
point.
before.
Yeah,
I
they
know,
were-
but I'm
it
just
wasn't
saying, like,
just 2.
Yeah.
They They had to.
It wasn't even a big
You're saying that
thing,
they don't
though.
really care
Yeah.
about
Yeah, they don't.
ending
They're
a species.
doing it
Which is crazy
whenever.
because as we see in the movie, they try to suck a podling for its juices.
And they've been doing that.
Right.
Yeah.
And
they've been doing that.
And they're like, this is gonna give us some good juice.
And it works for like 6 seconds.
Yeah.
The essence they get from the podling makes you see it's the Gartham Master. You see
Yeah.
his face get like all like Botoxed for like 6 seconds.
it like
Yeah.
puffs up with moisture again, and his
and
like
then
hands have
immediately
like
it's gone.
Which is like I'm pretty sure practical.
yeah.
It's
Of
pretty
course,
cool.
Yeah,
it
it's a
was
practical
like
effect, yeah.
it was like a latex balloon,
Yeah,
basically that
yeah.
they like puffed up, which
and
is
he's like,
cool.
"Oh, I'm so young."
Yeah,
and then like
he's
6
young,
seconds
young,
pass.
young.
Yeah, and then that one of them does do that.
Yeah, that's what he says. And then I have a couple issues with this.
Mhm.
One, the Skeksis knew that pretty much all of their juice comes from the Gelflings,
Gelfling,
and
yeah.
they just killed all of them.
They didn't breed
They
them or
didn't keep
anything.
any for food,
we see,
which is crazy.
I mean,
Yeah.
they discuss. That's why we talk about like the importance of the prequels here.
Right.
Like that's why I love the prequel show on Netflix because they go
There
through
was
this.
conflict
They
between them
go
just
through
killing
this.
them.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were
Yeah.
like, we need to keep them around.
Right.
So like, we can't just. And then by
Well,
the
just
end,
Chamberlain was saying that. The other ones were like very
It,
short-sighted.
it could be too, like in the movie, there might be implication that like they did not just like kill them all; they just sucked them all.
Yeah.
They didn't leave any left to.
Well, you know, the whole like, bring us 7 of your mightiest warriors thing
Yeah.
lasted for maybe 15 minutes.
Right.
And then
Yeah.
they were like, actually,
like,
fuck this.
yeah.
Send us everybody.
Yeah.
I think, well, and also they were just like, they have all these like rules that the Gelfling need to all die because of the prophecy, which we'll figure out
Yes.
soon.
Yeah.
The prophecy
Yes.
that happens at some point. Someone made a prophecy,
Right.
Mhm.
which I also have. But the other problem I have with
Yeah.
all
Who made
this,
that prophecy?
the other problem I have
I was
is
hoping you knew.
how you're telling me that the
Fucking Agra.
podlings, we know the podlings,
We love
Our
the
bubbly
podlings.
little boys.
they're so full of vivaciousness
Vim.
and life.
Yeah.
And
You're
vigor.
telling me they don't have they would have 100 times more life essence than
their
than
life
a
essence,
Gelfling.
Their life
Small.
essence, their Lidl, that's true.
Their
And their
Lidl.
life essence has been burned away by alcohol.
Oh, they're all like if they could get like a straight lace,
If they could get
podling,
a straight edge bodling.
but
I
there's
feel like
none exist.
You need to have like more pain and suffering to have like a real life essence,
That's
right?
true.
You're
The
saying like,
podlings are too
there's
happy.
they're basically like it's like when you try and make a tasty whiskey or other fermented beverage.
You need something a little
you
bad
need some time.
in it.
You need some you need some poison in it to like circulate
it
and
good.
transform it into an actual thing that you want to drink.
Not to
Yes.
interrupt another one of CJ's great metaphors.
There's been a lot of them lately.
But we meet Jen, who's the hero of the main character, the hero of
Yeah.
the movie, and he is with his master, the wisest of the mystics, who is also dying.
Mhm.
And the wisest of the mystics
What a weird coincidence.
tells
Yeah.
That's crazy
Tells
because
Jen.
the emperor's dying too.
tells
That's
Jen,
crazy.
sorry, I didn't tell you this earlier.
So is this Urso?
I believe it's
It
Urso.
must be Urso, but they don't give him a name in the movie. They
They
just
call
say
him
he's
the
the wisest
wisest.
of the.
Yeah.
Well, it's Jen saying it, and he's
Yeah.
like, that's like his dad.
Yeah,
so
right.
he's like,
he's the smartest guy I know.
yeah. It's like
I've
okay,
met
my
like
dad could
5
beat up
guys.
your
I've met a bunch of. I have only met mystics,
And this dude
and this
talks a lot.
this one's the wisest. They all say so. So whatever.
So he says, "You are a part. Sorry again, my child. I'm really sorry I didn't tell you
I
this.
know. I'm dying.
Any
and this
other
is-
time.
This is super inconvenient, but
But you need to save the world.
yeah.
Right.
You're part of a big prophecy, and everything I taught you was actually to prepare you for this moment, which is hilarious because he's entirely unprepared for basically
Literally,
anything.
the first thing he says, I think, at that point, as the wisest of the mystics is dying,
Mhm.
one of the first things he says is, "I don't understand." And Jen will say a variation of that the entire movie.
That's
for the next
basically his
90
response
minutes.
to
it's all
everything.
quite shocking and like no one really knows anything
Right.
of how to do what he's
Yeah.
supposed to do.
Yeah.
I was gonna assume that if had the show continued in its season 2, we would have find out who made this prophecy.
Right.
Yes.
Because later in the movie we do see like cave drawings
Yes.
of
Mhm.
the prophecy.
It was like ruins of a city.
Well, let's
Gelfling city.
let's take a
Yeah.
guess. Let's take a guess.
Okay.
Okay.
Because Deet and Brea, both of them, Deet saw in the show, I believe it was Deet, when the sanctuary tree gave her powers,
Uh-huh.
saw an image of a
A
Gelfling,
Potential future, right?
an image of a Gelfling restoring the crystal.
Mhm.
So Deet and Brea, I think, both have that knowledge.
Mm.
Okay.
And so either of them, their descendants or whatnot, could have been
or anyone they dream fasted with.
could have been the
Sure.
the genesis of the prophecy.
I think it does have to be an instance of like a person just kind of said that and it kind of spread around, because it's like engraved in this like old like archway that was
Yeah.
part of a big building made of stone.
Well,
Yeah, it was
So-
speak friend
so-
and enter.
So
but-
right, so they definitely had to have been like spreading this around for a while.
Yeah.
And I think at a certain point it becomes just like a Gelfling propaganda thing to be
But like literally, like Deet has a vision of Jen fixing the
Yeah.
crystal.
Yeah.
So
because
But,
the prequels did have the benefit of the movie already having
yes,
existed,
yeah, right.
knowing how it ends.
But since we just watched the movie like the other day, we noticed that the area that they find the prophecy written on the wall is a throne room, and it has the 3 petals.
Oh, it does.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
Yes.
does.
Cool.
Oh, did you not know that?
Yeah, I was gonna
Oh.
say I was like, oh, it's the chair has
Well,
the
when-
3 petals.
Yeah,
on
when
it.
you were
That's
talking
the
about
Almadra.
So
yeah, I was gonna say
so
when you were talking
it's
about
that-
the 3 petal thing, I thought that you
I
knew
didn't
that
know
was
that.
important in the movie
no,
too.
so that's so the throne room they are in is the
Mhm.
Almadra's throne room.
Possibly,
And
or the 3 petal thing
cool.
became imagery
Yes.
for
Yeah.
the entire.
That's true.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
true. also,
yeah.
But Jen is doing his best impersonation of a different Mark Hamill character from Wizards. I don't know if you know, Mark Hamill was in Wizards.
I love every
This
time
is a
CJ
really,
brings up something.
really deep cut.
And I
Well,
don't
everybody knows the Ralph Bakshi
no,
movie
also
Wizards.
You haven't even seen.
No,
that
but I know
movie,
about
so
it.
I'm confused.
But
I
he-
think I am the only person.
But
here
he's
who has
like-
seen this movie.
He's like a fairy in the woods, and he's like,
he's not.
Mark
I know
Hamill?
about it.
No, he's
Yeah.
a little wizard.
no, Mark
Ah,
Hamill.
like the
isn't.
name of the thing, CJ.
Wizards.
No, Mark Hamill is like,
Which
I'm
was-
the little guy. That's how he got into voice acting, and then he went on
to do the Joker.
to be the Joker, and then he
And
went
to
on to
be
be
in-
Skektek.
Oh.
So
Anyway,
it all. Thank
Everybody
you.
go watch Wizards by Ralph Bakshi.
You
I
don't have to
guess.
watch Wizards by Ralph. Actually,
This-
it's really weird. It's about a
You
two
haven't even seen it.
Yeah, I don't
CJ.
know. CJ's
It's
talking
here.
about a lot
The-
through
The lore
what
you
I
know,
have said
the lore you know about Wizards.
No,
There's 2
stop.
wizards. One of them
No.
it finds
One
a
of them
bunch
is
of
a
Hitler.
Nazi.
One of them finds a bunch of Hitler
This is
propaganda.
actually real.
And then the other
No.
one shoots him with a gun and kills him. That's the movie.
Wow.
wow. I actually want to know more.
That's how
I
it
want
wins.
to
Do
watch
you want to
that.
know like the Starship Troopers? Do you want to know more? I'm mashing
Yeah,
yes.
there's a bunch. It turns out that they're defending their own planet, and that's it. And then he goes, he's it's Neil Patrick Harris, and he goes, he's
Starship
he's
Troopers.
scared,
Yeah.
and they're all like, yeah.
Oh wait, that is Starship Troopers.
That's
Yes.
Starship Troopers.
Oh,
There you
I thought
go.
you were doing Wizards.
No.
Oh.
He switched into
Oh, you
that.
switched to Starship Troopers.
No, I was demonstrating my ability to do the lore you know on literally anything in 3 seconds. That's right. You've been listening to this podcast for like 4 hours now for this one topic. I could have told you it in 5 minutes.
The
I can't wait
Skeksis
for you.
gather around the dying emperor, and the best part about this is that they're all kind of reaching for power,
Mhm.
and the biggest ones we see are Chamberlain and the Gotham Master.
And he's back at it again with the other guy who's just like in charge of military.
Yeah,
stuff.
the Gotham Master.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Who was promoted from nobody.
It
to
was-
you.
who was the intern.
It was also really funny
Skek
because you
thing.
guys have spent so long describing about how Chamberlain was like working his way up with all this like subterfuge and
Yeah.
all this other stuff. And in the movie, they all just fucking hate him. They're
Oh,
like,
yeah.
shut up,
They
Chamberlain.
fucking.
They
I
hate
hate your
him.
lies.
He was like, I'm gonna be emperor, and they're all like, boo,
Boo.
get this guy out of here.
fucking throw shit at him.
They like exile him. They're like, get out of here.
Okay, so but not yet. So they
Yeah.
have, first off, it's hilarious that the emperor literally turns to dust.
right. He gets
when
so old he just
crumbles
turns into
when
dust.
Agra was
Right.
like, you one day will turn to dust.
Yeah.
And it fucking happens.
She read him.
So they need a new emperor, and they don't just exile Chamberlain.
Yeah.
You forgot the coolest part.
Oh yeah, it's
Oh
Trial
yeah,
by
yeah.
stone!
Yeah.
Trial by
Which
stone!
doesn't come up in the show, does it?
Trial by
Trial
stone.
by Stone. No,
Trial by stone.
This
I don't-
is where we thought the dual glaive showed back up in the movie.
It
I also
kind of
think-
looks like it, but
I-
I'm not sure.
I don't know if it is. They basically the Trial by Stone is the dumbest fucking thing I've ever
It
seen.
rips.
But it's like
a carnival game.
they just
So
have
good.
a big rock with a bunch of cuts
It's
cut
a
out of
carnival
it.
game. It's like, who can
And
get
then
Because
this
they
they've
try
been
and-
hitting it for a
And
long
they try
time.
and hit it and impress everybody with how hard they hit it.
So they break into two factions. There's a
Right.
couple that are backing Chamberlain, and there's a
Yeah.
couple that are backing the Gartham Master. And they take some hacks at this stone with swords.
Yeah.
And Chamberlain kind of puffs his chest out. He's like, I
Yeah.
did a pretty good one.
Yeah, nice hit.
And then the Gartham Master swings at it like Babe Ruth
Yeah.
and breaks it in
Leaves
half.
twain with a single
I've
strike.
won!
Which is crazy because that means did he never play before?
Yeah, he's
Did
just
he
never played.
become so good that
No,
he just-
everyone else loosened it up. for
Yeah,
him,
everyone
Yeah,
else
so.
exactly.
loosened it up
That's
for him.
bullshit. The person
You got,
who's
like-
second has a
I-
huge advantage.
I have
Yeah,
to
I know.
assume they made this up like between the prequel show and the movie because they started dying and they're like, we need a way to like compete among ourselves.
Yeah,
for
that,
yeah.
the
that-
new
where we're not
Yeah.
in danger
Right.
of actually dying. I think
After
you're
all
right.
the Gelflings are dead and they're just like kind of bored too.
Yeah.
And they're like,
Right.
what if we hit this rock? Really
they're
hard?
like done inventing stuff. The fucking Skektek, all he
Skektek
does,
is like,
When
no.
when
All-
Skektek is gone,
he
they're
doesn't
just-
invent anything else anymore. He just like keeps the crystal like suck machine running.
Correct. Yeah, that's like another thing again about the prequels is that you just
A lot more happens.
so much a
Yeah.
lot more
Yeah.
happens.
Right.
But also it's 10 movies.
Right.
Right. It's like 10 60-minute episodes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So
Yeah.
but yeah,
Well,
the Trial by
well.
Stone is like one of my favorite. And to the point, my brother and I loved this movie growing up, and we were gonna start a punk band called Trial by Stone.
Oh, I-
Just like
I thought you were gonna say whenever you had a like conflict as
No, we
kids,
do a
you would
Trial
go
by
out
Stone.
and you would fucking take a stick or whatever and
Hit
hit
a
a rock.
big
It
rock.
just does nothing.
No, and then
How
go,
co-
look at me. So they exile the fuck out of Chamberlain.
Yeah, they're-
right.
well, it's
they
'cause-
they defrock him.
yeah.
And then this is
They
when
humiliate him.
this is
That
when
too.
you see that Skeksis are actually these skinny little birds.
Yeah.
they are. Yeah.
They're wearing a bunch of
Yeah.
ornamentation.
I always got that impression.
But
though.
underneath, Chamberlain is just this skinny little scared
Yeah.
bird,
Oh.
and they exile him from the castle.
and then he goes
They-
immediately back to his little
This is the
conniving
second
way.
time
They-
he's been exiled.
they
That's what
literally
I'm
look
saying. They
like
just do it all the
yeah.
time.
he was
They
exiled
forget.
in the show.
but he's so much smarter than
They
them.
look like when birds can sometimes have a disease that they don't have any feathers.
Yeah.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
it's
Or just like a
little-
baby bird,
little,
yeah.
like,
There's like molting and they can't grow their feathers back.
yeah, just like a little baby bird.
You say that Chamberlain's so smart, but later in the movie, as the funniest fucking scene with Chamberlain ever, and I have such a bone to pick with you about him because you're like he's so like persuasive.
more than the other ones.
Well, I think I know what you're talking about, and I love
Yeah.
that scene. I'm
We'll,
pretty sure.
we'll
Let's
get.
wait.
Well,
Yeah.
we'll see if we use it.
Yeah.
So the others bow down to the new emperor, the
Mhm.
Gartham Master, and Chamberlain leaves the castle. But as he's going, there's a high pitched noise is heard throughout the castle, and it's the crystals singing, or they say the crystals calling.
Mhm.
They gather around the crystal in the crystal chamber, and they see Jen traversing the land toward the castle.
Yeah.
And so this is when they realize they scream out the prophecy. So
Yeah.
they realize that the prophecy that they're all fully aware. of.
Everybody knows about the prophecy.
Mhm.
That they spent
Except Jen.
the whole reason they did the genocide was because of the prophecy. They were
Right.
like, the prophecy says that a Gelfling
will end us.
will end the Skeksis reign.
Yeah.
Yep.
And heal the crystal, and because right now it is the dark crystal.
Currently.
After the whole darkening thing,
It is still broken.
It's
Yeah, It
broken.
is never. It's not. So that's the other shitty thing about losing the prequel is that we have the piece.
right,
Mhm.
We
By the
found
end
it.
of it, they know how to fix it,
right.
Mhm.
and then all of a sudden the
But
crystal's
here,
still
here
broken.
we don't. Here we
Yeah.
don't have the piece. It's just Jen. His master's like, I've given you everything you need to know. I'm going to die now. And at the same time as the emperor dies, he dies because, as we know, as we listen to the podcast,
They are connected.
they're connected. They are the opposites of
They
each
are
other,
one.
and so they both die at the same time. And now Jen's like, oh, I guess I'll figure it out or whatever, because his master is like,
So the master does give him a next step.
Right.
He says find Agra.
he says, go find Agra. She will tell you everything you
and
need to know.
unfortunately, Jen spends
She
the
will
next
not.
hour and a half. What even is an Agra?
Yeah.
I've never heard of
He
an
has
Agra.
no idea.
Do you
which
think
is
she
what-
eats gelfling?
It's so crazy. He's
He's never heard of God.
He's like,
This land is godless. He's never heard of God.
the
God is
mystic is like,
dead.
I am the wisest of my clan. He looks at this little guy and he's like, I have taught you everything you could possibly need to know to complete this monumental task.
By the way.
Also, there's a person I've never told you about. This
And
is the first time I've described her to you. I've never said where she lives or what she does. Go find her.
And she's God.
I'm going to die
By
now.
the way, she created this whole shit. You know how you're called a gelfling? She did that.
They couldn't.
right?
It's like, it's so crazy that he would have the gall to be like, I taught you everything you know. Get
Yeah.
out of here, Sam.
And he doesn't even know
Mystics
the etymology of his own fucking name.
He doesn't know anything.
The mystics are really useless, honestly.
They really.
They're
I-
so
The
frustrating.
guy who threw himself off a cliff is like the most useful
He
thing
did
that any
he
of them
did
have
the
done.
most useful thing.
The
that
archer-
was.
the archer did the most of any mystic. Even
Wow.
the heretic, the opposite of that, who I don't remember who he is, the opposite of the heretic.
Yeah.
Probably the
Do you-
He just kind of
Heretic.
he did a puppet. He kind of existed.
Wait,
but
Urtek?
if it's
Urtek?
Urtek?
Is
Oh no, it wouldn't be
Yeah,
Urtek.
but yeah,
It wouldn't be
yeah.
Urtek.
it's not Skektek.
I-
So Jen is caught in a trap by Agra.
yeah.
Right.
That's
'cause
where we are.
do you guys think that scene with the archer would have been cooler if he was just on that tall thing and he just like shot Hunter from like a million miles away
Yes.
and then like
Yes.
killed himself at the
Yes.
same time with like a super
That would've been
arrow
rad.
shot?
He
Wouldn't that have been so
Like
fucking
an
cool?
arrow comes
like
in
he
from his
he
back
does the thing
as
where
he
he like
shoots it?
pulls
Oh, I
it, he
like
like
that.
pulls it, he draws it like at level, and then he does the thing where he just like tilts it up a bit,
yeah.
and then he just lets it go. And it's just, and then he just kind of sits
He
down
just
and-
stands there.
and just waits for it.
But like the hunter's like squeezing
yeah,
Rand's head the
and
whole
then all of a
time.
sudden just like, "Phoop," and then they're
And it's
both.
from Rand's perspective, right? And then we're from Rand's perspective, and then he sees
Oh
it-
no! Oh, he like no, he shoots the arrow, and then he like turns around back to the cliff, and then he just like sits down.
Yeah.
and then the arrow goes through Hunter's head, and then the force like knocks
Knocks
him
him
off
off.
of the cliff.
Yeah.
and then he's like,
We should have
falling,
made this.
And the Hunter's like, oh, what's
Reshoot
happening?
it.
And then bam, then he
Reshoot
hits,
it.
then he hits
Remake
the
it.
ground.
Can we get
And
can
then-
we,
Refilm.
Such a that would be so fucking cool.
so Agra fucking catches Jen in a fucking trap.
Like it's like
Vines.
yeah. I-
yeah.
so this is the really cool part about the
Oh my
whole
God.
movie.
I tried to move us forward, and CJ's gonna give us
Well,
another side.
We're just
okay.
the movie in general just like has all these little like things
Oh, yeah.
moving about.
Yeah.
There's like a little wiggly thing just
Little
rolling
critters.
about.
Yeah,
Like the vines are all like
yeah. The vines like
Wiggly
move.
little-
There's
yeah.
a lot of establishing shots.
Yeah.
it's like mostly establishing shots. That's why I'm bringing it up now because we can pretty much skip all that because there's a bunch of little guys everywhere.
There's a little
Everywhere.
It's
Cool.
very Fraggle Rocky. There's just little
There
guys
super is.
everywhere.
That's
Yeah.
weird. I wonder
Yeah.
why.
Yeah.
So Jen says, I'm looking for Agra, I'm looking for the shard.
Mhm.
And like what
And everyone else in the world is like, oh yeah, we all know about Agra.
Yeah, what are you
She's
talking about? Okay.
Literally the creator.
so Agra, what I love about Agra in the movie is that she just seems to have totally lost her fucking marbles. Like in the show, she's like a little kooky,
Right.
but she's like very much with it.
Yeah.
She's like
Right.
still very sharp.
She has like goals.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And in the movie, she's like basically given up, it
Yeah.
feels like. So she literally brings Jen back to the orrery
Mm-hmm.
and
Because that's where she lives.
has a bag of
Yeah.
crystal pieces and is like, I don't know, it's fucking in here somewhere.
Yeah.
And by the way, it is in there somewhere.
is.
Yeah.
And there's
Good,
like
right.
10 of them.
Yeah.
So why isn't she just figured it out?
Done anything,
honest-
just like
go to the-
trial and error.
Go to the
Yeah.
castle and just plug them all in.
see what
Honestly, I
happens.
feel like she's just traumatized from the many
I don't-
genocides
Right.
of the creatures she named.
Yeah.
And
I
she
mean,
loves.
I don't
Yeah.
think it's it's hero's journey stuff, but
Yeah.
like she can't
I
obviously
was
do
gonna say, also,
it.
I'm
It's
sure
not her role or whatever.
I think it. Yeah, I think she is like she's a higher power in a way that she knows she actually can't interfere with that much.
Yeah.
Does
Yeah.
that make sense?
Because she never really
But-
does. She's always the person who's like giving advice.
No,
and-
but
and,
she-
like sending them on their way.
She fully interfered and was a part of the plot in the graphic
Right.
novels.
right. Well,
she was like fully in
well,
the
that's
plot.
like-
And
yeah.
look at how that went.
well, that's like
so.
Old Testament God, where he's like
That's true. That's
he's
old.
making
So
floods
J-
and turning
wait,
people into salt
So
pillars
Jen
and
is
stuff.
Christ.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
And then when they show
Jen
up,
is
and then he's
Christ.
like, "All right, that was too much. You guys will figure it out,
I
and I'll
think
sort
Ronup is.
I'll exist
Is
in
Ronup
like
Christ?
metaphor."
Ronup might be Christ.
He left, but he didn't die.
No,
He
Lizzie
just
says
left.
didn't Lizzie say Rob's like the Holy Ghost or whatever?
No.
No.
Thrall's the Holy Ghost.
Oh,
The Song of
the
Thrawn.
Song
of
Thrall's
Thrall's
like
the Holy Ghost.
Hey guys, this is CJ from the future editing a hot addendum to what's been said. Sammy and Eric messaged me late at night, frantically telling me that I am supposed to tell you that Ronip survives his ordeal and is like narrating everything, and that's where the books come from. It's like Ronip's recollection of the past, and then he like dissolves into sunlight or something, just kind of walks off into the sunset. So he's probably dead, but he's all fucked up from radiation, but he survives. So do with that information what you will.
So anyway, Jen gets
He's John the Baptist.
he so he's got it down to 3, and once again uses his classic Jen line of "What am I even doing?"
Yeah, I love that he finds the 3
If-
that are identical looking, and he's like, "Well, it's got to be one of these because these just all look
if,
the same."
if there was a Jen doll that you could wind up and he'd say a phrase, his phrases would be, "What am I even doing?"
I love his voice too. He's just like, "Oh, I just don't understand."
Master, I don't
He's so-
understand.
he's so, like,
it's very
soft-spoken.
sweet
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
gentle,
he's like,
yeah.
"Oh, I'm not
But
ready for this.
confused. The right amount of
If only
confused
my master
always.
had prepared me for this." Which
So
he
for
just
whatever
did.
reason, Jen pulls out his little flute that he has and
Which-
plays a little song.
Which is basically how he solves every problem in this movie.
And the one of the pieces lights up when he plays his little song.
yeah.
So Agra is like fucking lit.
But
up.
Algra, like, she's like knowing, she's like, you still remember the songs are powerful.
But she's like, she's like so fucking stoked
She's
that
like,
he
"You did
found
it."
Yeah.
she's also like, you don't have any time. Like all of her lines to him are
Yeah,
just
yeah,
like,
yeah,
you
yeah,
have
yeah.
no time.
No
I have no time to tell you any of this stuff. You just need to do it. And it's
So,
like, it would go faster if you would tell me what to do.
But in fairness, the second he finds it, the Gartham break in and start
Yeah.
ripping shit up.
Just
Because the
absolutely
Scary.
Skeksis have told the Gartham army, go find this Gelfling
Mhm.
and bring him to us.
because they saw it in a video.
They saw it in the vision and they know the Gelfling are. So the Gartham come up and fuck shit up.
They absolutely demolish the
Her
orrery.
orrery.
So
Yeah.
it's a
Not the
flame.
orrery.
Jen runs down a mountain and like runs away, and he looks up, and the observatory is on
Yeah.
fire. It's in flames. So
that
it's.
sucks.
It's so
Like,
That was
crazy.
her whole thing.
And
But
like
then
the-
we see
yeah.
that
the
Chamberlain is close behind.
Yeah,
the craftsmanship.
the
They
actual
built it.
the actual
Yeah.
craftsmanship of the orrery, like, you know, in the movie is like I was
Also,
looking
it's
at it and I
kinda
was like,
crazy.
they built this.
Yeah.
And I was just like, that's
Okay,
insane.
Imagine if the Urskek came down and we're like, we're gonna build you this dope, and they build you that. They didn't just build her a telescope.
I guess
They gave her
It's
like this
everything.
monumental like.
the thing. If I lived in current day, I'd be like, I guess that's cool. But if I lived in like caveman times or whatever, I would be like, wow, you are God. That's
Yeah.
insane. That's a
These
crazy
things just
device.
move by themselves.
It's like I don't even know what this represents.
Yeah.
Like
You know,
it
and-
clearly
and-
has meaning way beyond what I
and
can
back to the
understand.
idea of like not doing too much and not overtelling.
Yeah.
We never know what that shit is. It's
Yeah.
just like
She
celestial.
just,
there.
she just, and she's like, you know what this does?
The
It
stars.
predicts the convergence, the great convergence,
Conjunction.
and it's gonna happen. It's happening real soon. I can't tell you when, but it's gonna be soon. So you better get your ass going. And so Jen has the crystal,
Right.
and the
The shard.
Ogra is gone. He lost his only like
Ally.
guidance, and so now he's like, oh bother.
Because
just
she-
kind of sound
He
like
literally
shit.
does all.
He like escapes the
He-
orrery, and
Yeah.
then Agra is just in there, just like yelling at the.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's just like hitting them.
She's like, "Stop
And
it!
they're like,
What are you doing?"
They're like
She, like-
burning the place down.
She's like if she had a purse she could swing at them, she
Yeah.
would. Like
It's
she would
exactly
just beat
like
them
that.
with a purse.
Yes.
Like
Exactly. That
Okay.
is
Big
the vibe.
mom.
so at this
energy.
point, the Mystics have this realization. They have this calling that they must
Mhm.
return to the castle.
I
So the
love-
Mystics start
I
their
love
journey
they're
back.
all at once. They're just like, I
time
guess
to
it's
leave.
time.
Yep.
And they all just get up and start walking.
All right,
They're
so
so weird.
Jen is sitting and thinking by a lake.
Yeah.
And he has no idea what to do with the shard. It basically is, well, I've got it. Now what do I do with it? Which,
Mhm.
and I used to make fun
It's a
of him.
good question.
I used
It
to make
is a
fun of him for
good
this, but
question.
nobody told him
Right,
anything.
because we as the audience know because the narrator told us at the
Right,
beginning what to
right.
do, but nobody told him what to do.
So
He literally has no information.
He doesn't know what the
He
crystal
does
is.
a really great job
He
for
doesn't-
not getting any
he-
information.
He doesn't know what the whole, like, what the entire crystal of truth is. He just
So-
has this tiny crystal, and they're like, "You're
He
supposed to save the
doesn't
world."
know
with it.
there's a bigger
Right,
he
crystal.
doesn't know where it goes. Yeah, he doesn't know.
Like to us, it's obvious. It's like, oh, there's a big that size crystal hole in a bigger
There's
crystal.
the dark crystal.
We saw it earlier.
It was at the title screen.
So he's sitting by the lake and he's like disrupted by there's a rumble in the grass.
Yeah.
And it's little Fizzgig.
Yeah.
And Fizzgig pops up, the little
Yeah.
fur ball. He's like a little Furby. And little
Yeah.
Fizzgig pops up.
He's
and
like
goes
an
and
angry
shrieks.
Furby.
Lizzie and I are very divided.
I was gonna
on
say,
Fizzgig.
I hate to say CJ hates Fizzgig.
I think
I
it's.
love Fizzgig.
I think
like
it's a.
it.
I think it's a foul creature.
Ooh.
It's a little puff ball
It
with
has
teeth.
rows of
It has-
teeth
the
in
teeth
its
are-
mouth like a shark.
The teeth are disconcerting. I will
Yeah.
and
give you
all
that.
it does is just go. Ah! It like jump scares him.
So
oh yeah, it
It's
actually
good
is a
every
jump
time.
scare,
it is.
kind
It
of.
is for the audience. It's a jump scare.
It's
There is
scary.
there
It's
is a
perfect.
Fizzgig in the show too. There's one Fizzgig that appears in the Netflix
Oh.
show.
I assume it has like a species.
Yeah,
name.
and I have the book. I
Who
don't,
cares? It's Fizzgig in this one. He's like
yeah, it's Fizzgig.
he's like a little Pomeranian and he rolls around.
He
which
does
but
is
with way
cool.
more teeth.
Yeah, the teeth are scary.
So that's when Kira approaches. So Jen meets Kira, another Gelfling, right? So he
A
was
lady
told
Gelfling.
a lady.
Oh, that's
Oh.
convenient because
And- yeah.
he is a man.
And you get the
despite his name.
I've been feeling fine, baby.
Which I have to say,
Gotta hold my feelings.
which is a little confusing
So-
because the original girl Gelfling that dies at the beginning of the Dark Crystal prequel
Mira.
show is Mira.
Yeah.
But this is
Kira.
Kira.
Yes.
She's like a mirror image.
Not really.
Ayo.
Well, yeah, she doesn't get turned
But-
into
but
juice.
But
Mira-
Jen doesn't know
Spoiler.
anything
Mira and
about
Jen have
Gelfling.
never seen another Gelfling ever.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So
Jen or Mira has seen another Gelfling before.
Well, they said when they were babies,
Kira,
like infants.
Kira. So here's the
Kira.
thing. So they dream fast, right? Kira helps Jen off he was falling into the mud because
Mhm.
Fizzgig scared the shit out of him,
Yeah.
and they dream fast. Unknown, like
on accident.
on
yeah.
accident. Yeah,
That's what
like
we were talking about.
he
where they
should have
were
like
just
worn
"Whoa, whoa,
like
whoa."
they didn't like they should have worn a condom on one hand or
Right.
something because they
or
just,
maybe I was gonna say maybe just touch one finger, but I think that's kind of what they did. They literally just
they
were
like zap each other
Yeah.
real
It's like
quick.
a graze.
But so Kira shows Jen her visions of the Gotham capturing podlings because now, like we talked about, the Skeksis are using their army to just drain podlings.
Right.
That's all they have left.
And Kira was raised by podlings.
Kira was
Correct.
raised by
She
podlings.
lives
and
in a podling village.
she knows so much more about Thra than Jen does, which
Mhm.
just goes to show
The
again.
podlings are way better
They're
than the
one with
freaking
nature, yeah.
mystics.
the Mystics are like, don't teach him
They're like-
anything.
the Mystics are like hermits.
No,
I think
they
is the-
teach him how to read.
They teach you how to. That's
That is
true.
his
they're-
one
but they're
superpower
hermits.
that comes in.
They're
and they
hermits.
teach
They
him how to
don't go
smoke
anywhere.
hash. Like I don't know
Yeah.
what else
I
to
love-
show him.
I will say I
They
love.
don't go anywhere.
I do love the one moment where Kira's like, "What is this?" And he's like, "It's writing words that stay."
Words that stay.
And I was like,
but
"That's
you know
cool."
what? The first time I heard words that stay to define writing,
Yeah.
I had a fucking my brain reset.
Yeah, I was
It
like, "Oh, whoa, yeah."
writing is words
Oh my
that
God.
stay.
This is what we're doing. Words that stay.
So, Jen is caught in quicksand. She's trying to get him out,
She's like,
and
I
she
remember this
calls
line.
to
She's like,
creatures.
"Don't move," and he's like, "Where am I gonna go?"
Yes. Yes.
This movie's really
The
funny.
It's
movie's
really
actually
funny.
very funny. Yeah. But she calls to creatures to help. So we learned that she also can talk to creatures, which I believe in the graphic novels was limited to podlings.
Mhm.
But she was
But
raised by
she was
podlings.
raised by
She's right.
podlings.
So they just
Um,
have a knowledge.
Wait,
of it.
quick backtrack though. They've dream fasted.
Yes.
And in their dream fasting, they saw each other's entire lives.
Right.
Yeah.
It was
Basically.
a whole
Which
fucking.
it's a little overwhelming
It's
as
a
the
lot.
viewer
Yeah.
because like their voices overlap
Right.
and then like other voices.
It's cool. It's
overlap
like a
and
cool
sounds,
interpretation.
and like, but you do get both of their backstories, which they were both like they lost their parents and they were raised by the Podlings and the Mystics separately. Favorite part though is scene of the Mystic giving little baby.
He's
Jen,
bathing Jen.
a bath in some like a stream, and Jen's like, "Oh, there's me having a bath."
He's like, ha, I'm having a bath.
I'm having a bath.
and then flash cut to like Kira's parents being
Yeah,
ripped away from her.
burned down. Yeah. I love that also, like, during this whole thing, like they're having like voiceover with each other, and
Right.
and what he's just like, what's going on? She's like, it's called dream fasting. We're learning about each other, and he's like, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he doesn't know.
He's just like, they're just like immediately like, oh, all right.
But it's like the
I mean, it's happening, I
Podlings
guess.
taught her about this because the
Yeah.
Podlings know shit,
Yeah.
and the Mystics
The
are like,
Mystics-
whatever. I don't
The
know.
Mystics just didn't
They
care
taught
enough
him-
about like
they taught-
Gelfling culture, I guess. to
They
even,
taught
like-
him math and reading.
Yeah.
Which
And, like-
important
That's it.
skills,
And
but there's
music.
a
And
lot
music.
more that is going to be necessary.
Yeah.
Apparently not.
It's honestly like it reads as like the master is dying and he's like, well, I kind of fucked this up.
I tried my best, probably.
Well, I should have told you more stuff.
I,
we
uh,
never had the talk, which is about
it's-
dream fasting.
It's like
And about the ladies having wings.
It's
Yeah.
right. It's like when you grow up and you realize that your parents didn't actually teach you anything useful, but they just taught you the stuff they know.
Because my parents weren't drunk little hobbits.
Right.
If I would have
They
had
didn't teach
little-
me. My
little
parents didn't teach
drunk
me.
hobbits.
Yeah.
for
It's true.
parents.
She was just in a bar and different drunk people would come up and just
And
teach
just
her
like
something.
and just like
Yeah.
slurring speak at her, and
Yeah.
she just like learned how to talk to animals that way.
And she
It's
did
like-
learn how to talk to animals.
It's like,
so-
okay, cool.
So
All right.
I've heard about this
So this-
thing called dream fasting that go.
There's a really great what's it called when you like cut between, there's a really great cut between
Smash cut.
of a Nebri, which is like a lake creature that comes up that Kira talks
Oh,
to
yeah, I know
save
too,
Jen,
yeah.
and it cuts to the grand feast room
Yeah.
where the Skeksis are eating
It's
a
Sammy's
Nebri.
favorite
Yeah.
scene.
They're eating a roasted Nebri, which we just saw in the
They
wild.
are absolutely
And-
housing
Yeah,
this food.
This is what Sammy
It
has been
is
mentioning this whole time. They are just.
insane
Yeah,
how they
it's-
eat
it's
food.
gross.
Crazy.
I did have a question. So related to this scene that we see the Skeksis are being served their food by
Podlings.
Podlings.
but the
But they're
podlings that are
sad
serving them are
podlings.
like
They're zombies.
gray and like zombie.
They've been drained, yeah.
And so-
because
But that's what it was. I in retrospect I was confused by that. Like, so they got drained, but they didn't poof.
see, I've been
They
thinking,
learned how to control it.
I've
I
been
think.
thinking about this too, and I think it goes back to what you were saying. Well, how come they don't have as much life essence? And you were like, because they're like party boys, and that to me means their bodies are just
built different.
houses for
Just built
very little
different.
spiritual energy, but they're like doing unspeakable things to their bodies. They're like throwing each other through windows. They're doing like
Just for
black
fun.
rock cocaine and shit. It's like the worst things that they can do. So when they get their souls sucked out, they're still mostly there. They just don't have any like
so
consciousness
they-
telling them to
Yeah,
keep partying.
and so they don't poof, and so the
So they turn
Skeksis
into
literally
servants.
Yeah, they call them slaves.
Yeah,
They
they're
do,
little.
yeah.
and they're like
slave-
slaves. Bring desserts.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they bring like alive mice to.
Yeah,
the-
and they run around on the
part's-
table.
That's crazy to me because it goes to a different scene and they're just running around the castle floor. So it's like you eat the vermin that live in your house.
yeah.
That's
Well,
insane.
because they're
as-
so gross.
as a tasty
CJ.
dessert.
It also kind of speaks to the desperation of the Skeksis, where
Uh,
because at the very beginning it
really
shows
does.
the Thraw
True.
changing from green to
yeah,
black.
and it's just barren.
There's nothing left to eat,
It is
right?
like
It's
it is like that part where Scar takes over in Lion King, and then like which like
Yes.
the Pride Lands.
how the fuck can a lion fuck up the ecosystem so much? You know what I mean? Like I just don't get it.
It's because
That's a
they
good point.
overhunted her.
That has to just be bad luck on Scar's part. Like they just
No, he
happened
was
to have,
too
they
good of a
just
hunter,
happened
I
to
guess.
be in a drought year. He didn't hunt. The girls
Well,
hunt.
the
He made
ladies,
the ladies
his
overhunt.
ladies
I
were
see.
too
Yeah.
good of hunters.
But like Agra shows up now to like ruin their feast, and she's just yelling at him. She's like,
Is
"You
that when
got-"
she shows up?
I think so, isn't
So
it?
yeah, so
Oh, yeah.
okay. First off,
Because we learned that she's
Oh,
not
yes.
dead.
the Fizzgig are called Fizzgig.
That's crazy. All right.
Second off, the Skektek, his mystic side quest buddy, is Urti the Alchemist. And it says, an ethical master of invention, Urti was patient and humble, knowing that his work should never challenge the beauty and power of the natural world. Sadly, this Uru's life was tragic. Whenever Skektek was beaten or bullied by other Skeksis, Urti would endure the same injury, and as a result, he lost an arm, a leg, and an eye.
Oh right,
Oh my god.
and he didn't replace his body parts with like
with
science
machinery
parts
because he
like
couldn't.
They did.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
man.
anyway, yeah, sorry, I wanted to
Wow.
find that, but Agra, the Gartham returned during the feast. The Gartham
Right.
returned
I love those guys too.
and
They're
has
like
They're
big
cool.
like
carrying a.
they're just
Remember,
like
they're part
beetle
Grunak,
spiders?
part
Right.
spider.
yeah, they do look like big roly poly beetles.
Yeah.
They carry. They're carrying a giant bag, and
Yeah.
they're like They don't talk, but it's
Right.
like, oh, maybe
Oh,
they
you got the Gelfling.
They got the Gelfling,
Yeah,
and
they're like, yeah, fucking yeah.
and they roll it out, and it's Agra.
And
And
they're like,
she's-
ah,
How
shit.
could they possibly think that Agra was Gelfling?
No one told
They're
us they don't
so
know
out.
anything.
They were alive with Gelfling around.
The
That was
Arath-
a long time ago.
No. The Aratham and the Aratham plus Grunak mix
Yeah.
that created the amalgam that is the Gartham.
They're just
They don't
fucking-
have
they're
brains.
so
No, I meant, but the
stupid.
Skeksis see the bag with a creature that
Is
is
large.
is
Big.
Agra
Yeah.
size,
Yeah.
and they're like, "Oh, they got the Gelfling." What?
then-
No.
Yeah, and then as we mentioned before, like just one of my favorite parts is Agra's just like, "You idiots!" and they're all like, "Ah, ah,
Yeah,
ah." They don't know what to do except just be like, "Ah."
because they've been so like pampered
Yeah.
and they've
no
not
conflict.
there's been no conflict. They don't go on a treadmill every day. Like
Yeah.
they're just
Right.
they're sitting fat on their thrones.
And Agra's
Living
just
the
like,
dream,
you're
really.
gonna get yours. The Gelfling's gonna fulfill the prophecy. It's happening. I saw it. And they're like, no.
So the Skeksis then call out to a flock of crystal bats,
Which are cool.
and say, "Search for the Gelfling. Search high and low for the Gelfling."
They're like, they don't look. They're like, they're not like. They don't look organic. They look like they're like.
Well, the Gartham are made, so
Oh,
I
so they're
assume
just
that the
more, like,
crystal bats-
artificial.
Mhm.
Skektek
some
has
Skektek-
actually been
some
doing
Skektek
stuff.
OG.
Skektek is
The
just
most useful one.
Skektek is in the lab,
Yeah.
fucking producing hit after hit after hit.
I do like how in the description of his like counterpart, they're like, he did science, but not ever in a way that would like defy the natural order,
But
as
good.
opposed to Skektek, who's just like, I'm going to create life.
I will mash every creature together until I get something that functions.
I'm going to make a computer that uses water and makes shitty poems.
So we see the crystal bats searching for Kira and Jen. Kira is able to knock one out of the sky with her slingshot.
Yeah,
Because she's
Um,
really cool.
because she's cool. Like she in the way that Jen.
she was
is
taught things.
Jen is pointless. Jen right now.
So it's like, oh,
Oh
So
my.
Kira and Jen come upon a podling village, and it's the clan that raised Kira
Mhm.
after the Gartham killed her parents in the Great Gelfling genocide.
Genocide, yep.
One of many, I assume.
at least one.
At least one.
So the podlings, as I wrote in my notes here, as we've already discussed,
Mhm.
love to fucking
They're
party.
They're
They love to
tearing it up. They're
Yeah.
absolutely
The
this-
music is banging.
The music's
in
so
this
banging.
scene.
I love this part because then they're like, they're like just hanging out and they're trying to like figure out what to do next, and the podlings are just like fucking jamming out on their
Yeah.
like, drums and
They're all
flutes and
just-
shit.
They're like
So-
running.
and then
each
and
other.
Jen's like, hold on, I could maybe fucking plow out. I think I know how to do this. And then he like fucking riffs out a
Oh
thing
yeah,
on his
he
like
rips
flute
out
thing.
his flute.
And then they
yeah.
do like dueling ocarinas for a while.
So
and it fucking rules.
Kira tries to teach him podling, right? Like Kira tries to teach him like how to say thank you.
Yeah.
And he says it and totally flubs it, and everyone's like, "Wow, he
Is
doesn't know how to
yeah,
talk."
they're all like
They
fucking
looked
dunking
offended.
on him. Yeah.
They're
All right,
just like,
guys.
"Oh."
Look out, because the Gartham attack.
Just this is so funny because it's the exact same. They're like almost ready to like get some answers,
Yeah.
and then just
Yeah.
punch through the wall
Yeah.
again.
Yeah.
The Gartham show up and just like start burning everything to the ground again.
So at this point, much like when like the the ring wraiths are attacking at the
Right.
hilltop or
Yeah,
whatever,
yeah, yeah.
and Frodo puts the ring on.
Yeah.
Jen stabs them with the crystal. So Jen takes the crystal shard and stabs one of the Gartham, and like the crystal calls out again. It's like
Right.
Yeah.
and the Gartham round up a whole bunch of podlings
Mhm.
and take them with, because again, they don't know what a Gelfling is.
Yeah.
So they
They're
just grab.
They're just grabbing
Well,
whatever.
also,
No,
I
I love
assume
them.
they've been doing
They have,
that
like standing
before.
orders
Yeah.
to
Because-
get,
yeah, it's just
get food.
standing order, bring
podlings, yeah.
podling.
They
So we find out though that Jen and Kira are actually saved in that situation by Chamberlain.
yeah.
So a Gartham is chasing them, and he steps in and
Kind of
basically
interesting.
and
huh?
says like, "I'm the master of the crystal. You leave these fuckers alone."
Yeah, and they're
and-
like, oh, okay.
And and they're like, "Dope." So
Because they don't know that he's been whatever.
Kira
kinda
They don't know
recognizes
very much.
Kira recognizes him as a Skeksis. Jen does not. Again,
He doesn't know.
He doesn't know what a
Everything you
Skeksis
need to
is.
know on your journey, you've already been taught.
So yeah, you know how like in the hero's journey or the hero's quest, they're supposed to go get one thing
Yeah.
and then be good.
Yeah.
He has to get like 37 things.
He
Yeah.
has to get all sorts of knowledge. Every person he meets is a wise man compared to him.
Yeah.
He's fucking.
So Kira is really confused as to why a Skeksis would protect them because
Mhm.
she knows the history. And Jen is like, "Oh no, this is my fault. I'm so mad." And he
Yeah.
tosses the shard
Just
into
throws
the
it.
woods.
Also,
Right.
every time the shard
Which
hits
is
a thing,
crazy.
we don't have
That's
to talk about
crazy.
every time it cuts back to the Mystics because they're just walking this whole time. Every
Yeah,
once in a while,
they
it shows
sure are.
them. But whenever the crystal like hits something and like rings out, it cuts to the Mystics being like,
Yeah, they're just
and then they go back to
looking.
walking.
Yeah.
I really like the interjection of just the mystics
They
walking.
just
hanging
kind
out.
of
You know what it
every
is?
time.
It's a device called a clock, basically.
Yeah,
where it's
well, I was
like
gonna say it's
the-
indicating time passing.
the clock is
Yeah.
us leaving our town to us arriving at the castle.
Yeah.
So like it's the only way we as the viewer know that time is moving
Yeah.
forward.
Of course, yeah, of
Yeah.
course. But Skeksis does his classic move where he was like, "I protected you from those guys."
Yeah, he does that in a
He
second.
needs
Yeah, he
his
does that in a second.
favor.
So they Jen and Kira like Jen gets all pissed at himself, gets all
Right.
emo and throws the shard
Yeah.
away.
Classic.
They
What am I to do?
they fall asleep and then when they wake up
They're like spooning. Too.
they wake up and they're what Kira calls in the houses of the old ones. So they're in these Gelfling ruins. Jen is able to find the shard, and Jen says he can hear something within the runes. And Kira says bad things happened there long ago. So she tells him about how the Skeksis killed all them.
She knows so much. The
She does.
podlings really like understand
I
what's
think
happening in the world.
she probably. I wonder too if you're like a baby as a Gelfling, can you still dream fast and like get it?
Oh,
and
just fucking
understand it.
Because
and
maybe
remember it.
her parents were just like, "Here's all of our history. We're just gonna put it in a baby."
and now
and they'll
we'll die.
remember
Okay,
eventually.
My other theory was that podlings are oral storytellers.
Yeah,
you think
sure.
they just
And they're
told
always
her everything?
partying, so
Yeah.
they're always just
They're
singing.
Telling
always
stories.
talking
That's
about
right.
it.
They're
I like
always
that.
putting out information.
Yeah,
They can't read worth a damn though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no.
but
Don't need to.
yeah,
So
Don't need to.
there's we talked about this earlier, but there's
Mhm.
writing on the walls of these old ruins, and Jen can read.
Yep.
So
The
finally,
one thing. Finally, the thing he knows how to do.
words
Yeah.
that stay. And he says, and it's also kind of funny because it's just pictures.
it's it's hieroglyphic.
yeah,
could've
and
made
it's
it.
very clear. Like,
Yeah.
oh, here's the Urskek, and here's the Gelfling, and
Yeah.
here's the shard. And so at this point, they realize that the prophecy is to fix the crystal.
The
of truth.
dark
And this
Chris,
is
yeah.
the room that it's potentially the old Almadra throne
Right.
room
Yeah.
because it has the 3 petals on it.
But what would be cool if it were is underneath that throne would be Lord.
Lord.
Yeah.
and they just never went down there.
Yeah.
though.
And he's just waiting for
What if
that.
it? Yeah. What if
Huh?
it cuts to him just being like, like hearing them up?
Like
there?
when Farquaad is inside the belly of the dragon and he lights a match and anyway.
The- oh my! Is this the end
That's the-
credit scene to Shrek
I
that
think
you
it's
just
actually
referenced?
a bonus scene.
I
I,
think
don't even
it's-
think
I
it's in
think
the
I was
it's
just like,
the
I
Shrek-
don't know
I
what
think
you're
it's the
talking
I
Shrek
do know it.
dance
It's
party.
the dance party. Farquaad's in the belly of the
crazy.
dragon.
That's
Anyway,
crazy. You would do that.
Lore's down there waiting, singing a Counting Crows song.
Aw.
Okay. So Chamberlain pops up out of nowhere and says that he's the friend of the Gelfling.
Yeah.
And what I love about this scene, even when I hadn't seen the show, and when the show built his character so much, but
Yeah.
even when I hadn't seen the show, I love this part because Chamberlain just sounds like he's speaking in air quotes the entire time.
Yeah.
He's like, but I am your friend.
Yeah, he never like sounds genuine
This
at
is-
all. Like he's not even trying.
This is the scene where I'm like, Sammy, there's no way you can think this guy's convincing.
Yeah.
Because what he does, he literally is like, we can work together, please, please,
Yeah.
please.
Not this
Yeah,
scene.
he just
It's a
begging.
later
All
scene.
he just says please for like 10 minutes, and
No,
then
don't run.
and then Kira's like, don't trust this guy, he's evil, and he's like, no, I'm good, and she's like, no, he's straight up evil, and he's like, but no, we should be friends, and I was like, this is the least convincing argument ever.
Which is why it's so awesome to see him in the show because, but again, like let's take it in context with the prequel and whatnot and where
He's a
they're
little
at.
dull.
They're almost 1,000 years after they were
Yeah.
split.
Sure.
All of them are old as fuck.
They
They're
don't-
not eating.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
not in his
He's not in his prime.
Yeah,
He's
sure.
45-year-old
I'm
LeBron.
just saying, when he's like,
He literally sounds like a guy in a girl's DMs trying to get news.
Dude,
He's like,
he-
please,
Kira, send feet.
please, we could be friends.
So anyway, yeah, it's they do not trust him to say
Yeah.
No,
the
yeah, they
least.
run out
They
of there
shouldn't.
too. They just do not believe this.
So they realize they have to make it back to the castle to make the crystal whole.
Which I
Um,
thought they were gonna have to work together with him because he like knows the way to the
Right.
castle.
No.
But then Kira's like, I know how to get to the castle, and I was like, oh,
She
okay,
knows
She
cool.
summons
everything.
Landstriders.
Yes.
she could have done this.
She
She
should
su-
have done this. Should have been her.
She summons Landstriders to get them to the castle, and so they go together. We're back in the castle at the scientist's lab, and there are all these animals and podlings locked away. And this is where we see. I think this is when we first see a podling being drained for its energy, which is a scene when I was growing up that absolutely wrecked me.
Too
like,
scary.
It's very
And
disturbing.
for
It's
Sammy at
disturbing.
this age,
Also,
Absolutely
the
wrecks me.
Skeksis don't have names in this, right? They always just call them like scientists. And,
They call them by their role.
yeah,
not the,
they
like,
don't
Yeah.
actually have their
They
names.
might actually use a name once, but they just say Chamberlain.
Right.
Emperor.
I think they say Skekso, the emperor.
Maybe
I
they
almost
do.
seem to think
Yeah.
that they say it one time, but
Yeah.
the worst name they bring in.
so
It's like the world
they
isn't
may
ready
they
for
may call the
Skektek.
scientist Skektek. I can't remember. I think
feel
they
like they
drop
just
a
call
name
them
once.
scientists, but
Yeah.
yeah, either way.
So the new emperor is the Gartham Master. He drinks the podling essence,
Yeah.
and like we talked about,
Young.
works for like 6 seconds, and
Yeah.
then clearly, and then he almost looks older. You know,
Right.
like it like kind of
Yeah.
reversed.
It's really cool. Like his hand turns like bony again, and they like it was a cool. Effect.
So then one of them says, "Well, it always worked better when we used Gelfling."
Right.
And then Agra is trapped in the lab. We see
Yeah.
Agra down there.
But they're not gonna try to drain her again. 'Cause they
Well, they seem to forget everything, so
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
might try.
yeah, right.
So outside the castle, Kira and Jen they see the Gartham are guarding the front gates, and they're dragging the podlings that they've captured with them. And they call to attack the Landstriders, so they have a fight.
Which the
Um,
Landstriders do a really good job.
yeah.
I was like,
They're
Lizzie, I
so
think
cool.
these guys could have probably done the job.
I like their designs so much.
They're really weird looking, but they're cool.
They also
They're
sort
cool.
of they
They're
also
like
sort of
guys
remind
on
me of
they're
the-
guys on stilts.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're like these big, and they also kind of remind me of the thing that lets you fast travel in Morrowind. Like I don't know if that.
I don't know.
if
I
that
haven't
What?
played
I'm sorry.
in
Morrowind.
Morrowind. Never mind.
I know what it is.
There's a
but
big
I don't-
creature that lets you fast travel that sort of looks like a Landstrider.
I
but,
think maybe there's some inspiration there.
Okay, so this is when we find out that the women have wings.
Yep.
Because in this battle, Kira and Jen fall into a crevasse.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
Kira is able to save them by flying.
Yeah.
Because
And
like it seems like they're gonna
He's like,
die.
I don't have wings.
And he's
She's
like, "Of course not.
You're a boy.
you're a silly boy.
But why? Why do women have
Do you
wings?
want me
Oh,
to do that
yeah.
really fast?
Yeah, I
This
was.
seems like the right time.
I googled this and I found nothing.
So this
After-
is
after
this is
one
the
wings
only
have
place you
wings.
can find this information.
might
Is this
be true.
podcast?
Why do female gelflings have wings and boys do not?
How the Gelfling maid got her wings.
Whoa, this is like how the
it's
leopard
like
got
a-
its spots.
On a rare night, a few stars and not a single sun giving glow to the horizon, a
Hey.
Gelfling traveler approached others banded to cook fire. So it appears
back.
that there was a Gelfling mother who was attempting she had children she was trying to protect. This is a myth, right? This is the myth
Sure.
of how the Gelfling got the women got their
we'll
wings.
take it because that's all we have.
Yeah. So the children were too young to be wary of the dangers of the world. So the girl was forever chasing behind, snatching one, from the path and another from treacherous waters. As soon as she would wrangle one child, another would slip away. So this maiden was trying to
Thanks.
save.
Being a single mom.
Yes.
So hard.
I was gonna say that's
Who
what I feel
works
teaching.
too hard.
The
Who
maiden
loves
grew
her
weak
kids
with
and never
fatigue
stops.
as she labored to keep them safe. Worry
Oh.
crept around her shoulders, weighing her down, as made certain they remained well fed and happy as they could be. So she was physically. She reached out to Agra, and basically Agra was like, "Oh, okay."
Okay.
She said, while the maiden sought only to gain Agra's help, the World Witch, Agra referred to as the World Witch,
I like
Okay.
that.
Cool.
took two crag raptor feathers and waving them in the winds and sky, stabbed them deep into the girl's shoulders, piercing
Oh,
skin
ow.
and sinew to the bone. The
Oh.
maiden's
little
agony
body
was
horror.
severe. Crying tears of blood and fire, she tore at the feathers, hoping to pull them from her flesh, but it was too
Ugh.
late. The shafts took root and she had wings.
That's so like Agra to be like,
Whoa.
I'll help you. Fucking stabs her in the back twice.
So,
Right.
Lady
She
Gelflings
acts
have
before
So
wings.
it was
thinking.
Agra.
Yeah.
Is
Well,
Agra-
damn.
So Agra can do that?
Agra was doing stuff at one point.
Agra was
What
doing
the
stuff,
heck?
Yeah.
And then she spent like 200 years looking for a crystal.
It was actually probably evolution. Something that probably to.
So yeah, that's the
Get away
myth
from
of that's the
predators.
myth of how it happened. So-
I like to think
That's
that
so
all
horrifying.
of the myths in the whole world involve Agra in some way, and she's just like, I guess.
I forget.
That probably happened.
she yeah, first off she does not remember. And
Yeah.
second off she just leans into it.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's like the opposite of taking a rib out of a man
Right.
and making a woman. This
This
they took
basically
they took a they took like a pterodactyl
Crag
a
raptor.
crag raptor.
and shoved swings into her back.
And
So-
she hated it.
And
It was agony.
but now she can fly,
she
and
can fly
when
now.
she's trying to carry
Which-
all those damn kids
Which how
around.
does that help?
I know. How does that help?
'Cause
The
they-
issue is she couldn't keep track of all
Right,
these
because they were just getting
children.
away. She's got like a leash, is what she needs.
Yeah.
Or just like a
A
stroller,
papoose.
maybe.
Yeah. it's like that's why it's such a great solution.
stroller.
She's like, Agra, help, and then she's like, okay, completely misunderstanding the problem.
Okay, so Jen and Kira fall into this cavern or whatever. And Jen's
No,
flying.
they don't fall.
Fine.
Kira's
float.
They fly.
Kira's floating them around. Okay,
following
Chamberlain
style.
Chamberlain is
Yes.
still having been exiled.
Right.
Is still outside the castle, but he's following them. And once again says like, "Wait, I'm helping."
I'm still
Hello.
helping.
So he comes to grab them as you do when you're helping.
Yeah.
Settle down, stop struggling. I'm helping you.
Agra comes in and just stabs some wings into his back.
So Jen stabs him with the crystal shard,
Yeah.
and
Mystics,
it cuts to the Mystics where the
they're getting closer.
One-
the Chamberlain's other half starts to bleed in the
The-
arm.
Oh, right, because
Where
he
he-
also got stabbed.
And this
the
in-
Ursil? What is his name?
oh, the Chamberlain's other? I don't want to look it up.
No, but what is Chamberlain's Skek?
Skeksil.
So it'd be like Ursil.
His name is
probably.
not Skeksil.
It is.
Chamberlain is Skeksil.
He's
That's
the
insane.
council guy.
Skeksil, he's the council.
That's
You
It's
made
not
that
s-
joke about.
That's,
Um,
I can't believe I made that joke a mere 1 or 2 hours ago.
So we see and this is really the first time in the movie, other than the Emperor dying at the beginning, which that you see like a direct like, oh, he's impacted,
Yes.
and now this guy's
Yeah.
Right.
impacted too.
But
So,
it sort of feels like, oh, what a weird coincidence.
right,
when
and they
watching
kind
the
of pass it
movie.
off as that.
It makes sense.
So Chamberlain pushes Jen into some rocks and takes Kira away. And when the other Skeksis see Chamberlain with Kira, they scream and run back to the castle throne. And they're like, oh my god, fucking Gelfling. What the fuck is this thing
we're
doing?
scared. The prophecy. You
The
remember
prophecy!
the one.
But also
Alright,
so yummy.
So Chamberlain is using Kira as proof that he like deserves to be the right hand of the throne. And the
Mhm.
ritual master is like, dude, we are sworn to kill
Mhm.
all Gelflings. So and then they agree to just, hey, let's just drain her of her essence and then kill her.
And then kill her.
Yeah.
And they're all like, yeah, yeah. they're
Now
gonna
we're
fight.
talking.
Because Chamberlain has done this, the Emperor lets him back into the fold.
Yep.
He's no longer exiled, he's unexiled.
For again,
Again.
umpteenth time.
So in the catacombs, Jen is still buried underneath a bunch of stone, and the
Mhm.
crystal shard is nearby. For some reason, Chamberlain didn't take it.
Because he doesn't give a shit about it.
he doesn't care about that crystal, yeah.
So Agra is back in the scientist lab and is watching the Skeksis strap Kira to the machine to drain her. The crystal begins to drain her essence, so they're getting it done. Jen shouts up from the catacombs, "Kira, fight them!" I don't know how he possibly could be that close.
Yeah.
To
It
her.
was this was a weird part. This is the part where I'm like, this is a little loose.
There's just a lot of
We're in the
echoes.
last 20 minutes of the movie, and
Yeah,
they were
yeah.
really trying to. But the more important thing is Agra's in the room, and Agra says,
Is she in
Yeah.
like a giant?
She's in a
bird
giant. She's in a
cage
giant
kind
bird
of
big
thing?
cage.
bird cage,
She's in a
yeah.
giant bird
Because
cage.
she's like huge.
Yeah, she's.
Yeah.
And
big.
they had a cage ready.
They had an Agra-sized cage.
Well,
yeah.
they're all
Well,
They had a
sorts
bunch
of
of
critters.
creatures.
It's a
Yeah.
Skeksis-sized cage. Really, she's about the same size
Yeah.
as the Skeksis.
That's true. That's where Chamberlain probably was for
Yeah,
some period
they
of
put him
time.
in there for. They put, and he likes it
You're,
too.
you're going in the dum dum cage.
Oh, chain me up, Daddy. Mm.
Yeah, we don't know what these guys are into. I mean, we definitely know what these guys are.
So-
into.
and it's the
It's
worst.
this
And it's
stuff.
each other.
It's,
Okay.
it's a little gross.
So, Agra actually being helpful, being in the room, tells Kira, "Hey, you can talk to animals.
Yeah,
so
she's
fucking
like,
wake these things
This
up."
this part was really weird to me because she's like, "You have the gift. You speak to the animals and have them fight back." And all the animals instantaneously break out of their cage.
Right, yeah.
Which kind of implies they could have done that at any time.
They needed the
but
motivation.
didn't want
They
to.
needed the motivation.
You're
Also,
telling me
couldn't-
the animals never
couldn't-
wanted to escape once before?
Couldn't Agra have done that? She sings to Thra.
But she can't speak.
Again, why I love the prequel. Agra is fucking inept as hell.
Yeah,
in
she
the
doesn't
movies.
actually do-
She does.
She is actually
She
inept.
probably
nothing.
would have just like combined two of them together and it's like, I made a new one. And then everyone's
Just like
like
Skekta.
everyone's like,
Yeah.
okay. Cool.
She does in the show say that she likes Skektek. She's like, "You're one of my favorites."
Like, yeah, because he's clever.
he's fucking
and he
around.
makes
Yeah.
her. Yeah,
He is
made
doing
He
stuff.
made her house for her.
He's
So the-
creating as she did.
Yeah.
Honestly.
So the creatures of Thra escape, and they push and pull on the scientist. He backs away, accidentally hits the switch on the crystal machine. Convenient. Turns
Classic.
off the crystal, and then he falls into the chasm and dies. And
Yeah.
we then see his
my
the
favorite
best
part.
scene.
the alchemist, which
Yeah.
we just learned. The
all
alchemist
of the mystics are just walking, and then one of them just evaporates.
just literally disappears.
just
In
yeah.
turns,
flame.
turns into nothing. They all just kind of look over and they just keep walking.
Well, honestly, this has happened like several
Right,
times.
they
before
had to
that.
be
I
used
think
to-
there were 18 or 20 of them, and
Right.
now they're down to like 8.
Yeah.
So they've seen this a
Oh,
lot.
yeah.
It's just
Yeah,
funny that
another
they're
one.
just so like they barely paused. They were
Yeah.
just like back to it.
They
Boys.
didn't
We have
even
a
bother
schedule."
to teach the savior of the world a single thing about the
Yeah.
world. They don't care
They
about
don't care.
anything.
They really don't. They're not from Thra. They like don't
Yeah.
really give a fuck,
They're
right? Like,
tired.
I honestly
we are
I
are in
heard-
many ways like the
I mean,
mystics.
like we've been describing. I think like all they want is to reunite with
Yeah.
Yeah.
the other guys.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so they're like, well, now it's time. So let's get to it.
They figured I think they know it too, as
Yeah.
opposed to the Skeksis who are
Who are
like
The
in
they're
the
Skeksis
soul.
don't
they
really
either
know.
don't they either don't know that they can be recombined or they like it's maybe like a feeling inside of them, but they won't let themselves acknowledge
it's like
it.
it's
Yeah.
existential dread for
right.
them.
They don't want
It's
that.
like a massive.
this
change.
is also why I think like when they are the Urskek, it's like the mystic side of them is like repressing them.
the darkness.
like
yeah.
Yeah.
they don't feel like they get to exist when they're part of
and we
the whole.
we see. I mean, literally, the Urskek in the graphic novels. When they're having this little
Right,
meeting
yep.
that Rana stumbles upon, they're like, "Well, we were exiled from our home planet for like wanting to discover
yeah.
this inner part of us." Yeah,
dark
Right.
side.
right. So, and yeah, I think
Just
it,
so embarrassing.
I think it's just yeah,
it's very middle school.
it's very you know,
cringe.
but I just think that like the Skeksis are just. There's a great line in the movie where Agra says something about change, where she says like sometimes good, sometimes bad.
Yeah.
Where it's like it's change.
but it happens.
yeah, so like the Skeksis just don't want change.
Right.
Right.
Mhm.
So Kira has been saved by the creatures, and
Mhm.
Agra escapes and whatnot. Jen is now freed himself from the rocks, and he's with Fizzgig. He falls into a dark Gartham pit, and they attack him, and they're swinging their big meaty claws at him.
Yeah.
Big meaty claws.
They like punch through a wall.
Yeah, and they
leading-
reveal the crystal pit.
leading to the crystal pit, which is crazy.
Really convenient.
That's
Really
like,
helpful,
That is
actually.
super like in the 11:30 just are like it's that way. Like,
So he starts climbing up, and the scientist's lab has a little shelf that sticks in there. That's where the crystal comes
Right.
down to, right?
Mhm.
And so sees Augur. He gets up there, sees Augur, and Augur's like, "What the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck?" She's like,
He's like, I literally have no idea what's happening right now.
What am I doing?
"The great conjunction is upon us."
Uh-huh.
The mystics finally trudge in. They come upon the Gartham guards at the door of the castle, and they do their weird chanty thing
Yeah.
to get them to
Oh.
pass.
I love the guard is like in the way, and then they're like, "Bah." And then the guards are just like, "Oh, sorry." And it's like, they look so sheepish, like they're, "Oh, pardon me."
It's like
As
13
you
part
were.
I
harmony.
didn't realize.
It is, but at the same time, they're all singing the same note. It's
Yeah,
like
right.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's
It's like
somehow,
Gregorian chanting.
it's
kind
somehow
of thing.
atonal, but
yeah.
So they're in the crystal chamber. Jen is in the crystal chamber. He's above the crystal. He's
Mhm.
above them now. Kira is below, watching as the Skeksis enter the chamber. Physic's fucking rolling around, having his own little B plot.
He doesn't know what's happening.
He
The
really has no idea.
He does. He comes back in a second.
I
Right?
know. This
So
is my favorite scene.
the Skeksis call to the crystal, the same as the mystics are. They're called to the
Yep.
crystal,
Mhm.
right? So everyone's kind of coming together, conjuncting, if you will.
I will.
I won't.
Jen looks up and sees the three suns coming together.
Uh-huh.
There's a large hole in the top of the
I was gonna say,
crystal.
they have a cool room where they can like see it happen.
Yeah, that's the crystal.
That's where they put all the
That's-
mirrors. Up,
yeah,
they,
that's the
right?
Crystal
built-
Palace.
They like
The-
built it so it like it's like Stonehenge where it like aligns with it or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah. At the top of the
Yeah.
building, like the suns align and
It's
hit
rad.
the crystal.
It's rad.
So the Skeksis begin chanting, "We will live forever," which is really funny. So Fizzgig enters and starts barking, trying to get Kira to look at him. And the Skeksis are like, "Ah, fuck, a Gelfling. Ah, shit."
Oh no, the prophecy.
Yeah. And then the Chamberlain's like, "Ah, Jen's here too. Ah, fuck." So the Skeksis run around the room screaming.
They literally have no idea what the fuck
They're
do.
calling to the Gartham soldiers to attack. Jen is surrounded. He leaps off the balcony and on top of the crystal. But shit,
Which is a crazy land.
in
Yeah.
doing so, drops the shard, right?
Oh,
and it
no.
tumbles to the floor, almost tumbles into the chasm.
Which would
But-
have been bad.
Which would
Because
have
we
been,
know there's 1,000 of
there's
them.
a
down
billion
there.
crystals down there.
Also, it's like lava at the
Yeah.
bottom.
It
or
is. It's
something.
hot.
Like,
Yeah.
It's crazy that
It's like
that's
the
like
center of the
center
earth.
of their living room.
Yeah, it's
It's
hot.
just like a hole to the center of the planet.
Yeah.
yeah.
So Kira flies down and grabs the shard, and the Skeksis all surround her. Jen
But
is
they can't fly.
Jen sort of is like getting ready to give up. He
Yeah.
kind of just fucking gives up
He's
at this
like,
point.
oh my god, this is too hard.
He's always ready to give up.
He is.
So
at a moment's
Kira
notice.
throws from the ground, throws Jen the shard, and as she does it, she gets stabbed in the side by one of the Skeksis.
Mhm.
She collapses, and the Skeksis all look at Jen and don't really do anything else.
Yeah, they
Uh,
also kind of look at her like,
Yeah.
We did it.
we stabbed her.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, they probably
Like we were saying,
thought she was the prophecy
Because she,
because she's the one
honestly
doing
was-
everything.
the important part.
She's like, well,
Jen
there's
just happened to be the
there's
one
a
with it.
cringe-failed boy or this girl flying down fighting all of us. It's probably that one.
so
They live in a matriarchal society. That's
They
like,
do.
are
Yeah.
you the leader?
so it's just like again for the umpteenth time, they don't have any fucking idea what's going on.
Yeah.
They've
Mhm.
whatever knowledge that we learned a long time ago that the Urskek, when they split, lost all knowledge of the previous world.
Yeah.
Right? And the Skeksis just over the last millennia have just not done
They
anything
let themselves
about it.
go a little
They've
bit.
really let
Oh, yeah.
themselves go. So anyway, Jen slams the shard into the crystal, making it whole. The crystal explodes into a ball of light, and the Skeksis are shielding their eyes.
Yeah.
The Gartham begin
Don't
to,
look at that or you'll go blind or whatever.
like Augur did.
but
Yeah,
you'll
you'll
gain
lose
real
your eye.
sight.
But you'll gain real
But then
sight.
you also get it'll be fine.
It's fine.
The
You
Gartham
can
begin
stare
to
at it.
fall
Yeah,
apart.
that's fine.
I guess because I wrote down. I guess because they were golems and their masters are dying. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's something.
yeah.
Or they like, well, they're made of the like corruption kind of.
The corrupted science made them.
Yeah, and now
Yeah.
that the crystal's healed,
I'm okay with that explanation.
Sure,
Yeah.
that energy doesn't exist
Corruption
anymore.
is
So the
going
Crystal
back into
Castle-
the earth.
Maybe.
Into the
Yeah.
Or yeah, they're not like creatures. They're not like actual creatures. They're like, yeah, like you said, they're like homunculus.
So the
Yeah.
castle starts to fall apart, and the Mystic are now in the chamber as the castle's falling
They
down
get there
around
at
them.
the
That's cool.
they get there at the exact right time.
Like-
They left at the perfect time.
And-
yeah, I
and-
love that.
And you know what? That's why when they started disappearing, they couldn't do anything
Right.
to kind of look.
They couldn't stop because they're like,
we
we
are
have,
They're like, we
fucking
timed
budget.
it.
we
Like,
have to the second know when we're going to get there.
we have but mere 5 seconds to do quick little glances. That's all we've got.
That's
No
all we
bathroom
allotted for
break.
the trip.
So The Mystics are there. The castle's falling down. Agra's fucking chilling in the scientist lab, and she finds Fizzgig clinging for dear life in the pit.
Oh yeah, you forgot to mention that during the scuffle.
Oh,
they kick Fizzgig into the pit,
right.
and then Lizzie's like, "No," and I was like, "Yeah."
CJ.
Well,
Like,
because
Fizzgig bites one of them.
Because there's the scene where Skektek falls in the pit, and it like shows him like falling down, being like, "Ah!"
Yeah,
And I was like, how amazing would it be if they had a scene
With
that is
Fizzgig.
the shot exactly the same of Fizzgig, just some little ball being like
no,
falling into the pit.
Agra saves him.
Yeah, he gets caught on like the little apparatus.
I
they
think
use
that
to
Agra
suck
says
the-
like,
he's
"What are you
all
doing
mouth."
there?"
yeah, and she like, and then my second favorite part is she like takes a stick and she like reaches out
Yeah,
to like
yeah.
grab him, and I was like, what if she was just like, and, like pokes him and
Pokes him.
falls like, get down there.
All right, so the Mystics are circling around the crystal, and it's like we mentioned a second ago, like the whole room is built to house
For
the crystal
this, yeah.
for this purpose.
Yeah.
So like, it's like a circle, and there's like
Uh-huh.
9 points or whatever, so they're
Right.
all standing. And the Mystics get into place, and bright yellow light runs through the crystal and through their eyes.
Through the Mystic's eyes, and they're like glazing at the
And then like the
Skeksis.
Skeksis are like kind of get drawn into it.
Yeah,
They're
they're
like,
like,
ah, fuck.
"No,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Like the Mystics, yeah, they lift up like this.
Right.
Like,
Yeah, and then
like they're
they
gonna
like
hug them
go wrap
from
around
behind
their
them.
backside. They're
Yeah.
like, "Kum, ba, ba, ba."
So they turn back into the glowing Urskek, the giant glowing Urskek.
They're
Yeah.
huge.
They're freaky.
So the
They
music.
are weird.
I
Like,
don't really
This
like
is
them.
this is what you meant. I think I don't remember if this was off mic or not, but this is when the music gets all nice and sweet, and I wrote down,
Yeah.
which is nuts because the Urskeks are kind of bad.
Yeah.
There was 1,000 years of them kind of fucking up.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
They
like introduced division to the world before
Right.
they were even
Yeah.
divided.
the Urskek have this like message they give out to Jen, and they're like, you have reunited that which was once split.
Yes.
And now that our knowledge is passed on to you, you can remake the world. And I'm like, dude, you guys were the worst.
That would
you're
be
the
like,
reason we had to remake the
They-
world.
they-
Bye.
the
they're-
CEO of BP is like, you guys can take it from here.
we have decided you can heal the world now. And it's like, what? And then, but they just have they're so like omnipotent sounding.
Yeah.
And like,
yeah.
like they're so
And
magnanimous.
they're so big.
and they're just like, and now we go away, and it's like, so you just show up, fuck up the whole planet, and leave, and now you're like, good luck, and they're like, and your girlfriend is alive now.
They
And then,
They can't even like they literally in the novels we saw that they like heal Agra. She's damaged by the crystal.
Yeah.
They can't like wave a magic fucking wand and heal Thra.
do something, or like reintroduce some other Gelfling
But-
DNA. So
Yeah,
it's not
right.
A bunch of,
Yeah.
not a
Right.
bunch of like sister fuckers
Well, I
trying
mean,
to repopulate
the
the whole
Earth-
world.
Thra is healed though, because they show it at the end too. Is all green
Right.
Looking
again.
better.
Right.
I
So-
bet Agra can remake some Gelflings from
Yeah.
like
From Earth.
ex nihilo.
There
from
could be
dirt.
more Gelfling that
Also,
we don't
yeah,
know
there
about.
could
That
be
That's
we're
some
being-
true.
more.
There
There's a
could
lot
be.
of
They thought there were
podlings that
none.
could be
They thought
hiding.
there were none, but then there were. Oh yeah, all the podlings. go
Every
back.
village has their own Gelfling.
All the podlings get their souls back or whatever.
Yeah.
Which is not how it worked with anyone else who lost their souls.
No, the
Well,
Grunak are
because the
still
podlings
horribly,
are-
horribly genocided.
Yeah.
So
The podlings were just ready to party. You know,
I don't
like,
think the podlings. This might be controversial.
Oh,
I don't think they have souls. I think they are
Oh.
just empty vessels for the party.
like
Yeah.
seriously,
no,
though,
that seems
they,
right.
because they
That would
like
explain some things.
that explains why they turn into gray potatoes
right.
instead
yeah,
of like
instead
Except
of
for Hup, who has a soul.
Hup
Sure.
is
He's
yeah.
special.
Hup,
God
Hup's
bless
kind of
him.
earned a soul.
Hey, Throb
Yeah.
bless him, am I right?
I
So
agree.
The Urskek do admit at the end of the movie to being arrogant and damaging the crystal.
Sure.
And they
Oh,
offer to
too
heal
little,
Kira.
too late, dude.
It
Yeah.
seems like it's total bullshit, right? And it's like
Sorry for all the genocide. Lol. Whoops.
so they do
Bye.
heal Kira because
Yeah.
she was stabbed to death by a Skeksis.
Yeah.
And they
Allowing
say they're
Gelfling
leaving.
to
They say
continue.
they're leaving the crystal to Thra.
Right. That's
they
the part
begin
that
to
got me,
float-
and I was like, "Oh, thank you."
It was ours.
Wow, thanks.
Oh, we'll leave you the crystal. Yeah, it was ours.
Okay, thank you.
So,
Please.
so they
leave.
are like bright swirl of light lifts them up into the heavens. We
You
cut to
are-
outside the castle. The world is green and
E.T.,
good.
Go home.
The castle's no longer all shitty and cragged.
But
It's
now
nice.
it's made out of crystal, which is like, did they build it that way? Did they build the old castle around that castle?
No,
What's
it's like
going-
made not of like purple crystal. It's made of like crystal. It
I
looks-
know,
yeah, it
that's what
looks
I'm
like
saying. It's
glass.
like, it looks like it grew there.
Yeah.
Like it was like a natural crystal, but we know they built it.
They
Yeah.
did. They built it
Just-
with a.
It was originally clear, and then the purpling got into it.
No, I
now
don't
they
like
took
that.
it out.
No, I don't
I
like
don't know.
It wasn't. It was. Yeah, I don't like
No,
that.
maybe,
part.
but
It wa-
maybe.
seeing the movie the first time without any other knowledge,
Mhm.
I'm like, oh, how nice!
Right.
It's a happy
Yeah.
ending.
Yeah.
Seeing the movie with all the knowledge of how shitty the Urskek are,
Yeah.
And
It's
like,
like,
the knowledge of
fuck you guys.
Yeah.
how much work is left for Jen is not prepared to
Oh my
restart
God, no.
a
Kira's gonna have to do
race.
everything.
He's
Jeez.
so
I mean,
lucky
it's
Kira
just-
got
they're just gonna
resurrected.
restart the matriarchal society.
I mean, they're gonna
Oh,
have to because
absolutely.
he is a fucking idiot.
he's
he
like
can
But to
teach
be
them
fair-
how to read.
he
Yeah.
he wasn't given a chance really. Like he could be
this
smart
is a,
once
this
he
is a
learns
nurture
it.
thing, not a nature
You
thing.
think
Yeah.
so?
Yeah, oh,
You
yeah.
think
Because
it
the
was all
mystics were
Mystics?
useless.
The Mystics-
Wow, just every part of the Urskek is just
Is
entirely.
bad.
You just can't introduce an invasive species
That's the lesson.
That's
into
the
into a
lesson.
group. It just won't go well.
That's the
It
lesson.
won't
Doesn't
work.
matter if they have good intentions,
Guys,
Or not.
That's
which
the moral.
which Dark Crystal character do you want to see in Fortnite?
Thank you for bringing that back. It was at the top of my mind.
I'll go if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Mother Agra is my
That's
answer.
good.
Mother
That's-
Agra is my answer.
I have to say it's gotta be lore because he's gonna have
Oh,
some
he's
sick
good.
emotes.
Yeah.
He doesn't like. He can play
The arm.
the
The
arm.
arm.
You play like an Avril Lavigne song
Yeah.
on it or whatever.
They could monetize that.
Lady Gaga.
They could monetize that.
I think that's a good one.
Yeah.
I say the hunter.
Hunter's
Oh,
really good.
Hunter is
Yeah,
one,
that's
yeah.
good. And then you could have archer skin too.
Yeah.
Yeah, both.
Oh, and
So-
archer skin on top of the hunter.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love
Heavy
that.
gun.
I love that.
Yeah.
I have to go with Hup
I
with
knew you were
his
gonna say.
spoon.
Yeah, I knew you were gonna say hop.
See, I
That's
was
how
also
you could use the
thinking-
pick. You could use the pickaxe as his spoon.
I was
Yeah.
thinking Deet, and then Hup is a backpack accessory.
Yes. Yes.
I like that. I
Oh,
like
yes.
that. I like
That's
that
really
quite
good.
a lot.
Love that.
actually,
That's
yeah.
pretty good.
Yeah, love that.
Well, there you go.
You hear that, Epic Games? Is that who makes Fortnite? I forget.
I don't
That's
I
who
have no
makes
idea.
Fortnite.
And that's the lore you know.
That's we never ended a show like that. But the way we
He
ended,
was just talking about the character lore.
yeah, that's the lore I
And that's the
know.
lore
Wow.
I know.
and that's the end of this episode. That's right. This is how I end all the episodes. By thanking you guys, the audience. What an amazing
I was
journey.
thinking us.
What an amazing journey that we've all been on.
Yeah.
Thank you guys
Beautiful.
for sharing your deep knowledge,
Yeah.
your
Mm.
deep ancient knowledge of the old times.
It's
Mhm.
thanks to the words that stay.
That's true.
Right.
Yeah.
This
true.
is that's the new name of the podcast now. That's actually a really good name for a dark crystal only.
right.
Yeah, dude.
Podcast.
Words
Maybe
that stay.
yeah, one day. All right. But we do want to thank Galestorm Kitsune for doing the artwork for the channel, and we want to thank Apajo for doing the intro and outro music. And that's pretty much it. I mean, remember to absolutely fucking colonize the subscribe button. fucking shatter into pieces likes and
Like your-
comments.
Like your Skeksis eating at the table.
Like, yeah, enjoy this content that we've laid out for you. Really go to town on it. Absolutely
Like the
demolish it.
Stab at it with a fork or a fingernail, whatever you got.
Yeah.
Sammy, Eric, do you have anything you want to shout out for yourselves? Thanks for coming on.
Have us back anytime.
Please.
We do. We will,
Always.
Yeah.
again.
This is my favorite podcast.
That's great.
Oh.
It's a treat to be on it.
It's a treat to have you guys. We'll do some more once we've spent 1,000 years healing. From
One
this
shrine.
We'll come
Give
back.
us a try and we'll come back.
Yeah, we'll do it again.
Can I say something?
Yeah, say something.
I've been Eric.
Oh wow.
I've been Sammy.
Whoa.
I've been Liz.
And I've been CJ. And don't go through a portal to another world and enslave the races you find there.
Mm.
Mm.
Outro music.